Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. And we have a lot to cover on the program today, including our rhino problem. Okay, 20 seconds. We've got a big rhino problem. And we're going to get right into it. I got a lot of articles here. Stand by. Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to cover today. And I'm going to start with this rhino problem that President Trump has with this traitor senator, Tillis, who's opposing Trump's nominee. This is the thing, okay? I don't like calling these people rhinos. I think rhino is too overblown. I mean, too mild. It's too overused, I should say. Rhino is so overused, it goes in one ear, out the other. And I know rhinos are mean and, can be deadly and all that stuff, but rhino is just too mild, I think. I like calling these Republicans who betray Trump, I like calling them rats. Republicans against Trump, rats. Because this guy's a rat. Any Republican that opposes anything Trump wants to do, whether it's an appointment or legislation, they're a traitor. That's it. When this campaign started, and by the way, Ed Martin, there's no reason to oppose Ed Martin. Trump's nominated him to be the top prosecutor at the D.C. office, okay? And usually I wouldn't get bogged down on a U.S. attorney appointment. However, this one is very, very important because the United States prosecutor for the District of Columbia, they're in charge of the lawfare office, right? They're at the bottom of the swamp there. The lawfare people all coordinate through that office. It's the most important of all of the U.S. attorney offices in the nation. And Ed Martin, who's been running it with this, kind of like a temporary appointment, he's been a strong supporter of President Trump. No one questions his loyalty to President Trump. He, as an attorney, defended some of the J6 hostages, people who were being denied their constitutional guarantees. Liberals are talking about the Constitution all the time. How many J6ers had their constitutional rights totally ignored, right? So in the darkest of days, Ed Martin stood by Trump, stood by MAGA, stood by the Constitution of the United States. And every once in a while, these rhino rats get smoked out. And that's where we are right now. Now, this is an article from NBC News. Let me pull this up. And, because it's NBC News, I understand there's going to be some liberal phrasing and things throughout this news story. But I want to use this one because it's being widely reported, but they got some details. Senator Thom Tillis, traitor Republican, fake MAGA, rat Republican against Trump, rhino Republican in name only, and senator from North Carolina said he wouldn't support Ed Martin, President Trump's nominee for the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, most likely blocking the path to confirmation because he's so aligned with the J6 prisoners. He's represented some of them. Tillis said yesterday, I've indicated to the White House I wouldn't support his nomination. Tillis is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and of course, all the Democrats are going to oppose. They only need one Republican to oppose to stop it from advancing, and that's what he's doing. Sometimes they'll let, both parties do this sometimes. They'll let a Republican vote with the Democrats if it doesn't matter and they can still get the vote through, like a tiebreaker with the vice president, J.D. Vance, or there's enough senators to do it. But in an instant like this, there's no excuse for it. Tillis is a member, this traitor Republican, of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is overseeing Martin's nomination. The panel has 12 Republicans, 10 Dems, meaning if all members, aside from Tillis, voted along party lines, the vote on Martin would end in a tie and his nomination would not be sent to the full Senate. So he voted when he didn't even have to. Trump's nomination of Martin, who's NBC calls a longtime right-wing activist, has been the interim attorney there since Trump appointed him when he came into his second term on Inauguration Day. They say he's raised major concerns with alumni of the office, which prosecutes both federal and local crimes in Washington. Tillis says he has concerns about Martin's involvement in the defense of people who breached the Capitol on January 6th. Okay, here's the deal with all of that. Attorneys represent the worst of the worst. And I have never, until Trump had attorneys, until there's MAGA attorneys representing either the president, and I mean President Trump, or J6 defendants, I've never heard anyone in the media, in politics, question someone's qualifications for a U.S. attorneyship, a federal judge appointment, or anything based on clients they represented. And attorneys represent murderers, rapists, and all kinds of terrible people that do the worst of the worst. But we have a system in this country where everyone in America, except Donald Trump apparently, and J6 defendants, have a constitutional guarantee that they are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and they have a right to fair representation, to representation. Have you ever heard lawyers say, well, that lawyer can't have that job because he represented a murderer or some other terrible crime? Never. But if you're a MAGA attorney and you represent President Trump or you represent J6 defendants, you're unqualified to hold office? I've never heard of that before. Have you? And, one of the reasons that J6 prisoners had their constitutional rights violated, and one of the ways they did this, was by intimidating attorneys so that they wouldn't represent them like Ed Martin did. See, if you are one of the top tier attorneys with these big Washington law firms, they let it be known that if you represent President Trump or the J6ers, you're not going to work in this town again. So President Trump was in a different situation and could still get top tier counsel, but his first picks he didn't get, remember, some of them. And J6ers, I remember noticing this because, Newsmax had a lot of the attorneys on for J6 prisoners when this was all going on. And you could tell by watching these attorneys, they weren't Washington insiders. And you need these Washington insider law firms because they know everybody at the D.C. courthouse, the D.C. federal courthouse. They know everybody that works in these offices. This is how business gets done. J6 defenders had to hire outside attorneys. And when I would see some of them on television, you could tell by the suits they were wearing, they're not these top-tier New York, D.C. lawyers. They were wearing suits like, cheap suits that you buy off the rack. And I'm not saying something's wrong with off-the-rack suits. I don't get suits tailor-made. When I buy a suit or a sports coat, I go to Men's Warehouse and then I'll pick it out, then they measure me, and then they'll send it off and have it altered. I don't buy tailor-made clothing. But when you are going up against the federal government on these J6 charges, you need the tailored suit attorneys, okay? And they couldn't get them. And look what's happening. They're telling Martin that because he represented J6 prisoners, he's unqualified to hold public office. The people that attorneys represent are the lowest of the low so often. And if you're an attorney for Trump or an attorney for a J6er, It's as if you're guilty of whatever crimes they want them to be guilty of, even if they're acquitted or pardoned, right? What they're saying is, in effect, that if you represent a drug dealer, you're a drug dealer. I've never heard of anything like that before. The sins of your client, even if they're not sins and just accusations, you're guilty of. And opposing Martin, I don't know if we've ever talked on this program, the longest running radio show in the state of Florida, if we've ever talked about an individual U.S. attorney appointee before, and if there's ever been a controversy with one before. None come off the top of my head. Okay, there's been issues where like a bunch have been fired. Alina Habba got that appointment, but I'm talking about like a controversy where Republicans stood up and said this cannot be allowed. This rhino fake rat Republican, we can't allow this. Jack Posobiec and many others are standing up in defense of Martin because this is one of those moments where precedents have to be made. If you're MAGA and you represent President Trump or J6 prisoners, you are not going to be banned from holding office or a position within the federal government. And the reason this is so high profile is because this D.C. office is where the lawfare is coordinated from. And if we don't purge and he's done a lot of purging in the time he's had this office temporarily since President Trump appointed him on Inauguration Day. He's gotten rid of a lot of these people. But if you don't have MAGA people in charge of the swamp offices like this one in D.C., we're never going to be able to fully purge D.C. and drain the swamp of the lawfare people and the deep state criminals. And if we don't do that, the president and his family are going to be harassed for the rest of their lives. And MAGA people are going to be under threat for the rest of their lives. That's why this one is so important. So this fake Republican, this is the lowest of the low, what he's doing. All right, we're going to take our first break of the day. My name's Brian Craig. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Now, I want to tell you guys about the free doorbell camera offer from Slomin's. This free doorbell camera offer, with the installation of your Slomin Shield, you can get a free doorbell camera and more, which I'll tell you about in a moment. This doorbell camera offer is amazing. Now, first of all, it is a great addition to your home security system, which you need. But you get a notification on your cell phone no matter where you are in the world when there's movement in the front of your house. And this is a great thing. Because, in this age of DoorDash and Uber Eats and Instacart and Amazon deliveries, there's people coming to your door all the time. And you get a notification, you see who's there. You don't get up and look who's there. You don't go and open the door. You never have to use a peephole. I don't have a peephole. That's why I got the camera, because I don't have a peephole on my door. I got a storm door for hurricanes, and it didn't come with a peephole. I could have had one added. I didn't. And before I had the camera, I'd have to look outside the window, and it was a mess. Now, I don't have to do that. And you can get a doorbell camera from Slomin's for free with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Slomin's is also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. You get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, and you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Give them a call, no matter where you're located. Toll free, 1-833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll take our first break of this Wednesday and be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. Okay, we'll be back shortly, guys. If you're on hold, hang in there. Okay. If you are new, make sure that you subscribe, guys, all right? This is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're on hold, hang in there. Yeah, I just got this hat in the mail yesterday, along with my Gulf of America hat. So maybe I'll switch off between the Trump 2028 and the Gulf of America hat throughout the show. We'll be back in about a minute. Less than a minute, we'll be back, and I will go to the phones. If you're on hold, hang in there. Absolutely. Now, this is a very well-made hat, too. You know, all this weight I've lost weight in my head, too. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. Our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Oh, hey, Mike.
You know, I'm looking at the Judiciary Committee members here, and look, there are a number of rats on the committee, but the number of rats that are going to vote for this guy is only one now, because a lot of them have been made the threat that they're going to be primary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. You know, that's true. Yeah, no, listen, there are fake Republicans that toe the party line because they don't want to be primary. No doubt about it. But, you know, Trump should appreciate the call, Mike. Trump should get everything he wants from every Republican in Congress every time. Every nominee, every bill. Not a single Republican in either house should ever oppose a single thing that Trump wants. And that's the way it is. Now, yesterday, I got in the mail from the official Trump store 2 new Trump hats. I'm wearing right now my Trump 2028 hat. And I also got my Trump Gulf of America hat. And I'm so impressed with President Trump because, you know, he handed these hats out at a cabinet meeting, and my wife actually ordered them for me instantly, like during the cabinet meeting, but they were sold out, and they were on back order, and here it is, I don't know, a little more than a week later, and I got both of them in the mail yesterday, and of course they're made in the USA, And everything that Trump makes is of such high quality. These hats are so high quality, they're going to last me forever. They're collector's items. And I love these hats. And it's amazing when he sold out and they're on back order, how fast he got these high quality hats made and out to people that ordered them. And I point out, it goes to the competence of President Trump, right? He is the most competent person ever to be the president of the United States. And coming from the private sector, results are required or you're out of business. And he got these hats, boom, out there quick. And these are, and I highlight how high quality they are, the quality material, the stitching, the writing is stitched in, very high quality. The stitching on the seams of the hat itself, very high quality. These hats are not quick to make because of the high quality nature of them. And to have them out when they were sold out so quickly, that's who you want to be president. Somebody that is that on top of it and gets things done just like that. Now, did you guys watch this weakling Prime Minister of Canada, Carney, with President Trump yesterday in the press conference? Oh, my goodness. I watched that whole thing, and that guy was terrified, wasn't he? He was absolutely terrified to be there next to President Trump. He was squirming in his seat. He could hardly sit still. He rarely spoke. And Trump just steamrolled him and showed him who the boss was. And, Trump has met with a lot of foreign leaders. And I've noticed some of them, I know they're nervous because he's a larger-than-life figure. He's a historical figure. He's the most famous man in the world. And I get that. But usually when I see the foreign leaders at all nervous, it's because there's so many people from the press there, like Meloni from Italy. She had a great thing, and then when the press started barking, and they get nuts, they're like wild people screaming. She jumped back a little bit, but Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, was actually terrified of President Trump, and you could see it. He was practically shaking. He couldn't even sit properly in the chair. It was so bad, even he referenced the way he was sitting. I've never seen someone so nervous, so intimidated, and so scared, who's the leader, supposedly, of a major nation. And, he's been up there running for office, and he's been all tough, he's been all butch, he's been all manly. But when he faced the man directly sitting next to him, President Trump, it was so cowardly, wasn't it? Oh, my goodness. I almost felt bad for him. And while he said Canada's not for sale, and I know that William Shatner went on Jesse Waters last night. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I love William Shatner, so I'm not going to attack William Shatner. I don't even want to know everything that he said. I don't want him to get into Mark Hamill territory. But Alberta, which is a oil-rich province in Canada, their premier and the people of Alberta are seriously wanting to secede from Canada. And the Albertan, the premier of Alberta, I don't know that. We don't know the names of your premiers up there. It's Canada, right? Who cares? But she's a lady, right? And I watched a little bit of an address she gave to the people of Alberta, and the people of Alberta are pretty ticked at the rest of Canada. Alberta is a very wealthy province. And the federal government, the national government's taking all of their money and not giving it back to them. They're ripping off Alberta. And they can sit around all day and say Canada's not for sale. They've got a weakling coward prime minister in Carney. And Alberta wants to join the United States. So, so they're not so unified up there. And if we had a president that was worming around in their chair in a state meeting like that, I would be very upset, wouldn't you? Oh my goodness, are you Canadians embarrassed? And he tipped his hand to Trump. He's a coward, so Trump will break him. Trump will get what he wants, and it won't be a problem. All right, our number to call in, toll free, no matter where you're listening, toll free 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. All right. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, my phone is blowing up today. It's amazing how many people have my cell phone number. You know, I changed my cell phone number a few years ago because Liberal Al had my old cell phone number, and I had that number for years, and it was such a great phone number. The last 4 digits were the best. It was the best phone number I ever had. It was the easiest number to remember in a day and age where you don't remember phone numbers. And Liberal Al had gotten a hold of my cell phone number and had me on every call list you could imagine. And I got like 2,000 calls it was crazy. And so I had to get a new cell phone number, which you hate to do, right? And I thought I kept it really private. And so many people have that number. I get text messages constantly. Now, a lot of people that text me, of course, I don't mind. But some people are like, how does that person have my phone number? So sometimes during the show, I'm getting text messages from so many people. I don't mind if they got my phone number. I'll text back. Sometimes since I don't know who it is, I'll write it back. Who is this? And then I'll put them in my contact so I know who it is in the future. But now I'm not going to say what my old phone number was, but it was such a great number. I hated to lose it. You know, so there's very few numbers that are easy to remember as the one I had. It was such a great cell phone number. And it was almost like, it was so good you would have thought it was a custom number. But when I got a new cell phone plan this one time, and they let me choose from a huge list of numbers, and I found the perfect one, and I had to give it up. Actually, it's the Steve Kane Show. They have renamed the show to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. I mean, they Steve wanted me to change it to the Steve Kane and Brian Craig Show for years, but I just, I was always resistant to that. And then they kind of forced me into the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. But the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms, which is a separate show I do. You guys should check that out. All right, here we go. Stand by. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. And we're talking about this sewer rat, Republicans against Trump. And, that's opposing President Trump's pick to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Ed, and I'm a Florida cracker.
Okay.
Oh, am I on the air?
You're on the air, yeah.
All right, sorry about that. Are we allowed to speak about something if we're unhappy with something that Trump is doing?
I don't know why anyone would be unhappy with anything Trump is doing, but yeah, I'll listen.
Okay, if you watch that Tucker interview with Catherine Austin Fitts, which she is fabulous, everybody should watch her.
Is that the one where the woman said is she the woman who said they have the underwater
chambers? I don't care.
Okay, yeah, okay. I just want to.
Fitts is one of the most credible people there are, and the underground bases we've known about since the '90s, and that's junk. I don't care about the underground.
Okay,
bases,
well, hold on a second. My phones are ringing off the hook, so I want to answer them all. Hold on. Okay. 1 second. Okay. All right. So go ahead. So what's your beef with Trump?
In 2018, the White House, all the Republicans and all the Democrats adopted a Statement of Federal Accounting Standards 56. This allows the president, the vice president, anybody in the Financial Board of Congress can choose a person or any number of people to move any financial transaction from any agency completely off the books. This is where, if you listen to that, she talks about this in that statement, they can move any money anywhere and we have nothing to see. We can't even see it.
Okay.
And Trump had this ability, and it's against the Constitution. It's a blatant violation of the Constitution. It's not a law. It's an accounting standard. And nobody is challenging this.
Well, my opinion on that is that I can think of nothing more terminally boring than discussing accounting issues. I have no opinion or interest in that. You said you don't
care about
what? I don't care about what?
The 21 trillion that's missing from our economy because of it?
I don't know if that's true. I didn't see that part of the interview. I saw the part where she was talking about the underwater bases that they have. And I don't know how real that is. It sounded a little kooky to me. But no, I'm not interested in I'm more interested in the underwater bases than I am accounting talk.
Well, then go back to 1994 when they first told us about them. We've been told about underground bases for 30 years.
Okay, maybe there may be places for the government to go. Now, you said you're a Florida cracker. What does that mean to you, and what makes you a cracker?
The fact that I'm a native-born Floridian.
Okay. Oh, that makes you a cracker?
Originally.
Okay.
Well, original cracker refers to horseman. Mm-hmm. Because that was where
I know. All right. Hey, listen, I appreciate the call. Oh, my goodness. That guy, you know what that guy is? That guy's a show killer. Nothing that he says is interesting. Oh, my goodness. When he said he was going to disagree with Trump, I thought he would have something interesting. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you missed your opportunity. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. I got a couple things, though, that I want to get to as this goes on. This Senator Tom Tillis, and I must tell you, I've never liked people named Tom that spell their name Thom, right? His name's Thomas. I know this seems petty, but I know a lot of Toms, okay? And they all spell it Tom. But when they start spelling it Thom, those are guys that are pretty, full of themselves. But Senator Tom Tillis, he's opposing Trump's nominee to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. That is the sewer, man. I mean, that is the beginning of the sewer. That's where it is. All the lawfare, all the sewer rats are right there through that D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. So it is very, very important. And the person that leads that office, you want them to be MAGA, you want them to be loyal MAGA, and you want them to be loyal to our favorite and greatest president, Donald Trump. And this statement that he made about Merrick Garland is starting to go semi-viral on social media. I posted this on my X, if you guys want to follow me there, and you should repost it and retweet it, whatever you call it these days. But listen to this. He came out in favor of Merrick Garland to be the Attorney General, and this is a quote from Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who's opposing Trump's nominee. He said this of Merrick Garland: Merrick Garland has an outstanding record serving our country and has a deep understanding of the law. His experience reflects his extensive legal knowledge and unbiased application of the law, and his long-standing reputation of bipartisanship has earned the respect of both Democrats and Republicans. So he loves Merrick Garland, who had federal agents in school board meeting parking lots writing down the license plates of parents. Now, some documents were just uncovered that showed that Merrick Garland and Biden were monitoring people like you and me for misinformation, MAGA people who were saying things they didn't like. So we had Merrick Garland had a secret police force of monitors monitoring MAGA civilians because they didn't like what they were saying. Tillis supported that guy, that monster, that tyrant, and he's opposing a Trump nominee. The swamp's deep, man, okay? And to drain the swamp, there were certain key positions that have to be replaced with Trump loyalists, and this is one of them. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, Richie.
You know, this Tillis is a piece of work, and I'll tell you why. You know who gets to pick? You know, you said that the D.C. Circuit, all those prosecutors, and the judges are lawfare.
Yeah.
Who do you think gets to pick? Who do you think gets to pick if Trump's nominee fails after 120 days? The D.C. Circuit picks them.
That's right. That's an interesting thing because I heard that last night. I never heard that before. So I was shocked to hear that. So they're running a scheme so they can get a swamp creature in that spot.
Right, and that swamp creature will be temporary until they can get a nominee through, which, you know, they'll keep on turning nominees of Trump's down.
And the midterms are an unknown. They're going to keep turning them down, and the midterms are an unknown, and it's a big deal.
That is. I mean, this is the biggest turncoat, and I blame the people of North Carolina that put this guy in there. North Carolina is supposed to be basically a red state.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
I mean, the people vote for these creeps.
Well, this is why, when I talk about Ron DeSantis, right? Ron DeSantis is doing the most MAGA stuff you can imagine as governor of Florida, right? He's doing roundups of illegals. He's trying to eliminate property tax, but you can never trust this guy because if he gets into the Senate or he'll be just like Tillis, right? He'll be a Republican in name only, a rat, and he'll betray us. And he's doing a lot of these Republicans, Tillis, DeSantis, they trick Republicans into voting for them. You can really get, I really hate to talk about an appointment for a United States attorney. It seems so inside baseball, but this is like the head of the snake. It's so important.
Yeah, and the snake is going to pick the next prosecutor, which tells you everything you need to know. And if Tillis is right involved in it, he's more than just, he's a deep state. He is right there. Him and Langford and a whole bunch of them.
That's right. And if Trump doesn't get to put somebody of his own in place, whoever they bring in is going to hire back all these people that he fired.
Exactly right. You're talking about everything that Trump has tried to do. It's been tried to block from that D.C. circuit in Washington. Yeah. Hey, can you imagine this?
Yeah.
Can you imagine a prosecutor that he can't even pick? They're going to have their own guy in there?
That's correct.
This is ridiculous.
No, this is. Anyway. I know. It seems like a small thing to a lot of people, and this is not.
It's very big.
This is not the normal thing we would talk about with a. This is like. But this is not the U.S. attorney from the Southern District of some state out west where nobody lives. Okay, this is where the lawfare is born. Is through this DC system.
Trump's agenda This is where Trump's agenda gets stopped.
That's
if
right.
This happens.
Well, Richie, we're both going to
Totally.
agree 100% with each other on that. All right, 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Yes, speak up.
Oh, hey, it's Joan from Tampa Bay.
Hey, Joan.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, Joan. How are you?
I'm good this morning, thank you. I'm going to get communion today, so I'm really happy
Awesome.
about that.
Awesome.
Yes. So anyway, did you hear about Shifty Schiff?
What's the latest?
The latest is he claimed homestead in Maryland and homestead in California.
Oh my goodness.
He
He's
claimed-
got homestead in multiple states. That's a crime.
Yes, plus voter rights and plus tax evasion.
Well, I don't know about all that, but just this thing about homestead, it's kind of like Letitia James. Homestead, I know not every state has homestead exemptions. We have it in Florida, and you get to deduct a lot off the value of your home so far as it's assessed for property taxes, and it saves you a lot of money on property taxes. A lot.
He got over $7,000 a year.
Yeah, for how many years?
I think over a decade.
Wow, so it's like $70,000 maybe to $100,000. Well, and the thing about it is, it's not something that's automatically given. You have to go out of your way and fill out a form to get it. So this home, it's so interesting.
Wait. And there's mortgage fraud too, mortgage fraud, because he claimed both as his homestead.
Well, see, this is I didn't know about the mortgage and I didn't know about the homestead. I will look into it, and I hope you're right, because see, like Letitia James, these things require your signature on so many different forms. There's no like, oh, that was a technicality. It's proof with your own signature, with notarizing and witnessing by others and everything else, that you were committing crimes. And it would be nice to get some of the, Pam Bondi had a great press conference yesterday with the fentanyl arrest. It was the biggest fentanyl seizure in history. However, I was really hoping for an indictment of Letitia James or something,
Yeah, I know, but do you want to hear something funny? He signed all his California home documents in Maryland, and they were notarized in Maryland.
Well, in Congress, you don't have to live in your district or even state to represent your districts in Congress. Which is a lot of Congress people do not even live in their states that they represent. As crazy as that sounds, they live in Virginia.
But you can't claim your primary residence in two states.
No, you can't. That's a crime.
When Trump moved to Florida, he ended his New York relationship as being his primary residence.
That's true. Well, Joan, that's some good intel. I'll check that out. Thanks for the call. Rainy season is back. Have you guys noticed? Oh, man. And if you've got a wet spot on your ceiling, you've got a leak in your roof. And you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. This is a cool thing about Tom Laporta, because he's not only a roofer, he's a licensed general contractor who holds his own license. I was shocked to learn from Tom Laporta, I did not know this, that you can start a roofing company with somebody else's license. And a lot of people do that. That means that, like you or me, who have no experience in roofing, we could, I'm sure these people pay them to do it. They don't just give it to you or loan it to you. But we could borrow someone's license and start a roofing company. What do I know about roofing? The only thing I could do is tell you guys to call Tom Laporta on his cell phone. But Tom Laporta holds his own license. He's a general contractor. And what that means is not only do you have a top guy with lots of experience working on your roof, repair, or replacement, because he's a licensed contractor, Florida law allows him to deal directly with your insurance company for the cost of the repair or the replacement of your roof. So you may not even need a public adjuster. And if you want, I know, isn't that something? Some people actually hire attorneys and have to pay attorneys to deal with or think they have to pay attorneys to get their insurance claim. Tom Laporta, since he can deal directly with your insurance company, very good chance you could save all of that hassle and expense. He services both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He works on every type of structure, single-family homes, commercial, even municipal, and of course with every type of roofing material too. So he can handle any type of roofing job, and he can handle the job of any size, whether it's one home or one office building, or you have 10 units or 310 units, he can help. This is Tom Laporta's cell phone number. You can call or text him. I'm also going to give you his website, which is laportaroofing.com. But the number at laportaroofing.com, it does ring to the office, and you're welcome to call that number, but it's not Tom Laporta's cell phone. Reach the owner of the company directly. Give him a call or text, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And remember, Tom Laporta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you just need a simple repair, he'll do it. 954-604-4602. And online, laportaroofing.com. We'll be right back. I'm answering DMs and texts during the breaks all the time, guys, if you're wondering where I go. It's just like... I try to answer as many DMs as I can from people and things. I know I cannot answer them all, but I do read them. Even if I don't get a response, I do read your messages when you DM me on either Instagram or X or, something like that. But I can't answer them all. I wish I could. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show, on the radio since 1977. The left are, they're all of a sudden, they have all this obsession with the federal courts and the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court rules, and they're the supreme law of the land and all this stuff. And President Trump won a major victory in the Supreme Court of the United States. And for that matter, not just President Trump, but the man who I think is probably the best Secretary of Defense this country has ever had, Pete Hegseth, also won a big victory. And the Supreme Court upheld President Trump's transgender ban for U.S. military personnel. And starting today, the discharge of transgender service personnel is going to begin. And while we don't have confirmation on exactly where and how they're going to do this and a timetable, although a lot of people are speculating on it, there's a lot of talk that they're going to start with the higher ranks. This idea of transgender people in the military is insane. There's all kinds of restrictions on who can serve in the military. For example, I cannot serve in the military. I can't enlist. And the reason is the same reason a lot of you can't. I'm too old. They wouldn't take me. I mean, for them to take people my age into the military, there would have to be a full-scale land invasion by an army, and we'd have to be losing the war. And we'd have to be out of troops before they would take someone. Because, as you get older, physically, there's a lot of things. Like, the biggest thing I notice, I don't mind getting older, but the biggest thing I notice when you get older is how the heat affects you. Oh, man, does it ever. I mean, I don't mow my own lawn, and it's not that I don't have a very big lawn, but it's too hot, especially during the summer, for me to do it. I go out and mow the lawn, I get like heat stroke. And what good is somebody that can't, and as you get older, everyone who gets older has problems with the heat like that. And there's other problems too, right? You get hurt easier. You don't heal as fast unless you go and see Dr. Philip Appleton with the laser wave pain treatment. So so is the military guilty of age discrimination because I cannot enlist? In fact, after 9/11, there was a big surge of people who were over the enlistment age, and some of them would get, because they would have a rare job, like say they were a doctor or something, and they would give a special break for them to join, but they couldn't go into a combat zone, So people that have medical conditions, like in my instance, my age, because of the heat, is a medical condition that makes me ineligible to serve in the military. Transgender people are on so many medications. You cannot be on that many medications for anything and serve properly in the military. And for that matter, transgender people, because you see a lot of them out there, they're out of control. There's been several mass shooting events that were committed by transgender people. Anytime Riley Gaines, like I was mentioning one reference yesterday, okay, there was another speaking engagement. If this happens anytime Riley Gaines speaks, and you see these transgender men totally out of control, screaming at the top of the lungs, they're unhinged. And a lot of the reason they're unhinged and these mass events that are going on is because of all the transgender medications that they're taking. It affects their mood. It affects their attitude. It affects their judgment. And people that have those kind of issues, you don't want to be flying a fighter jet or a bomber or having a rifle somewhere or a loaded weapon somewhere. It's not safe. It's not safe. And this will be an interesting thing when this happens, because the discharges will begin. And we'll see how public they are. What I mean by that is when the transgender discharges are going to begin, and they could have already begun. They could begin this morning. So what's going to happen? And the Supreme Court of the United States upheld that. And the Democrats, the liberals, and the fake news media have been shoving down our throat that when the Supreme Court speaks, that's the end of it. No discussion, no debate, that's it. And if you go against what the Supreme Court opinion is, you're going against our Constitution, you're not supporting the law, what they've been saying when they rule against Trump. So when these transgender service people, when the discharges begin, are the Democrats going to be active? Are we going to see transgender soldiers and airmen and spacemen and admirals and generals? Are we going to see them on the liberal media? Are we going to see them define the Supreme Court of the United States that we're supposed to obey no matter what? It'll be interesting to see. I think the liberals are going to have a change of heart about the Supreme Court right quick when these discharges begin. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Trisha from Minnesota.
Hey, Trisha, what's on your mind?
I was just thinking, what also if the transgender, okay, they're super unhinged, what if they decide, okay, like they're in the military, let's turn these guns now and go crazy and be retaliation.
Well, what we've seen, it's interesting what you say. The first one I remember was that Nashville shooting at the school with the little children, the kindergartners. That was a transgender shooter. There's been multiple transgender mass shooting events, okay? And there's a lot of unhinged mood problems. And you don't want people like that to have military weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mainstream media totally covered that up, that it was a trans person.
Correct.
Like the last one of them.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. They don't want that to be known, right? You're exactly right.
They don't think about this either, is that some of the deployments are in places where it is completely dangerous. You get thrown off a building for being gay. I mean, so what are they going to do to a transgender soldier? I mean, Trump is also protecting the trans.
Exactly. And another thing is, the military, one of the big deterrents of the military is people having fear of it. And guys in dresses that are colonels and admirals and generals doesn't send fear through the people that need to be fearful of our military. It makes us look weak, and just that alone can cause wars and get people killed. Listen, I got to run for the top of the hour break, but you made some good points.
Yes.
All right, thanks for the call. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. Our number toll-free, no matter where you're listening, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. 1 hour down, 2 to go. We'll be back right after our top of the hour break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in less than a minute. If you're on hold, stand by. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And I'll go to the phones when we get back. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian. This is Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Hour number 2 has begun. It is Wednesday already. All right, let's go back to the phones. We covered a lot in the first hour, so before I recap or bring anything up, I'll take a call or two. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you're out. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug. What's up?
I'm hearing that.
Wait, give me a second, Doug. Hold on. Yeah, I got to tell. Hold on a second, Doug. Hold on. I got so many calls coming in. It's crazy. All right, go ahead, Doug.
Okay. Besides Tillis, I heard there's 25 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, who want to keep the wasteful spending, and they're going against everything that President Trump wants to do. So there's more than just one. If there's 25, these guys got to get voted
there's
out.
There's a lot of Republicans that don't like Trump that are pretending to be MAGA. Okay, but they're afraid to oppose MAGA. So there's a lot of that. But the last few times I've seen Mitch McConnell, he's less coherent than Biden, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm telling you, I talked to some people about that yesterday. I said there's 25 Republicans, and well, that's just the way it is. This is what some people actually.
No, it's not the way it is. See, the President Trump is not a normal president. Okay, this is the greatest political movement of any of our lifetimes. I often refer to President Trump as a civil rights leader. He's leading the American people, all of us, not just a particular group. He's leading all the American people to freedom from the bondage of the deep state and the permanent Washington class. And when President Trump wants something, if you're MAGA, you give it to him. If you oppose him, you're fake MAGA, you're out. And that's the way it is. Trump is entitled to get anything he wants through the Congress, whether it's an appointment, a nomination, legislation, a treaty. He is entitled to get everything he wants. Now, I don't mind if they got enough votes and they got some Republican that's in some left-leaning district and they vote against him, but we can still get it through. But what you're doing when this Merrick Garland lover, okay, Tillis is doing from North Carolina, and you stop the whole process in committee, that's another deal.
Yeah, man, they don't want that Washington to have somebody that's going to go along with everything Trump says. So they're going to do everything they possibly can. And unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to be able to get this through or not, but I don't know who's going to get next. But
there's a lot of very influential MAGA people who are not taking this lying down, like Steve Bannon and Jack Posobiec and others. Yep. So, all right. Appreciate the call, though. All right. Always a good call.
Great hat, great hat, by the way.
Oh, great. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm wearing yesterday. I ordered these, and they both came yesterday in separate boxes, by the way, from the U.S. Postal Service. I've got my Trump. This is from the official Trump store. I'm wearing my Trump 2028 hat, which I love. And I also got my Gulf of America hat, both made in the USA from the official Trump store. And they are beautiful hats, no doubt about it. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Ben from Pompano. How you doing, bro?
All right, Ben. What's up?
I got to be honest. I'm checking in. I've been completely unplugged from political news. But from my understanding, what has Congress actually gotten done up until this point? Like anything? Have they passed anything? No,
not much. I mean, look, we didn't get any impeachments out of the House on Biden, right? I mean, not much. I mean, we did. Now, I will say, other than this United States attorney, we got everybody confirmed that Trump picked.
Right. What about, have we arrested anyone? Has anyone, besides Letitia James?
No, she hasn't been arrested.
Been any arrest?
Letitia hasn't been arrested.
No. I mean, no. But they're going after her.
Yeah, Trump's alluded to that, and I will tell you this, okay? When I saw an announcement that Pam Bondi had a press conference, I was not expecting a fentanyl bust. Okay, now what she did was great. It was the largest fentanyl seizure in history, but I was expecting like a grand jury indictment against Letitia James for mortgage fraud or something. So I was a bit let down, weren't you? I mean, come on, we need an indictment, an arrest.
The fentanyl bust, that's an easy one. Okay, that's like you literally just do the job that Biden didn't. You go after, they know where all this stuff is getting trafficked. You put on a big show. We're taking fentanyl off the street. The hard stuff is going after people like Mayorkas or Comey or anyone.
But President Trump was talking even yesterday, Ben. They've been alluding that justice is coming for Letitia. But yeah, I agree. Pam Bondi is disappointing people with these fentanyl busts. It's good work she's doing, but we need a name. We need an arrest of someone who's a household name.
Exactly, and that's they need to throw us a bone here because at this point in the Biden presidency, I don't know if people remember. I don't have a short memory when it comes to political things. I remember how bad we all knew Biden was going to be. We all knew he was going to be bad, but when he got into office, we were shocked at how bad, how quickly.
Yeah.
And they were going after people in every direction, whether it was arresting James O'Keefe, whether it was arresting any one of the lawyers who worked with Trump. They were going after like crazy. And all we get from Pam Bondi, and I love Trump as much as the next guy, but this guy's attention is so divided among so many things because he's got so much on his plate. I honestly think sometimes he takes the advice of people he trusts, but those people might not be
Well, listen, I know
I'm
that
disappointed in Pam Bondi.
I will tell you this, okay? Dan Bongino walked away from a multi-million-dollar a year business and career, and it's totally radio science. And I find it impossible to believe that he's sitting in an office in D.C. doing nothing. All right, and if he's not going to be able to return to his former glory unless there's some high-profile perp walk arrest. So I believe that there's investigations and interviews and grand juries in place, and we just haven't seen them yet. It hasn't been that long, okay? I mean, he still doesn't even have everybody in place, So but we need something to be sped up on one of them. We need at least one high-profile arrest.
It can't be Trump. It can't just be Trump doing all the work by himself the whole time through the executive orders. We actually need a Congress. I mean, this is expected, man. I guarantee if Trump. You would see if on that fateful day in Butler, Pennsylvania, things did not go the right way. I would wonder how long it would take many of the Republicans in Congress to turn away from the movement and start going back to you know what I mean? Like, this is the problem we have to deal with that Democrats don't.
Yeah, I think Pam Bondi is. I think Pam Bondi is making mistakes by having fentanyl bust press conferences. No one
cares about that.
No, but no. What it does, it ticks people off. And, like Kristi Noem, when she goes into those busts, or Tom Homan, that's what people want to see. We want to see an indictment against any of the Fannie, Willis, one of these household name lawfare people. We need, you got to throw some meat to us. Yeah.
Right. Do what the Democrats would, if just play a thought experiment. If the Democrats were in power, what would they be doing right now? And let's do it in reverse. They would be arresting us. They raided Trump's. I don't understand how.
And by the way, it could be something. It could be something like involving Ilhan Omar's falsified immigration documents when she came into the country. Something we need something to show that they're doing something against the lawfare people. We need it.
Yeah, I know because you know what. Whether when 2028 comes or whatever, the next time Democrats get in office, and eventually it will happen, they're not going to ratchet it down. They're going to double, triple down. And I just pray to God that someone in Trump's orbit and Mar-a-Lago is just listening, because the base, from what I'm feeling right now, is we're just so frustrated with
they know.
We were expecting a lot more. We were expecting a lot.
I know with some of these people, they're so embedded in Washington, there's complex cases. However, Letitia James's mortgage fraud, that is the one I always talk about, low-hanging fruit. You've got a lot of documents with her signature that are clearly fraud, saying her father's her husband and things. That's an easy one. Indict her, bring up the charges. That's an easy one.
What you can get. Right. Take what you can get. And you know what? It doesn't even matter what it is, because what they did with Trump, I mean, they literally would just take the smallest thing that in most circumstances.
MAGA people are very impatient about this. We all are. To say we're not.
I'm actually being friendly about it, because if I were to express how I really feel, like it, I don't want to bring the show down, but it's infuriating that this is the best we have when it comes to. I want a Bukele. I want like a Javier Milei. I want someone who just takes it to these evil communists who tried to kill our president.
Who do you other than Letitia? Who do you think is like a low-hanging fruit where the evidence is clear and documented they could pick up? Other than Letitia James,
I think they can get state attorneys. So they pardoned, people like Fauci and Mayorkas and Garland. Get state attorneys to go after these people, just like they did with Trump.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit.
I'll tell you one thing that's a very easy thing to do too, is General Milley could be demoted. Even though he's been pardoned, they could bring him into a military tribunal in front of the president or the defense secretary, and they could take some of his stars away for his dishonorable service. Something. We need something.
Marshall. Anything. Listen, the fact is, Democrats can figure it out. They can find someone who's completely innocent, like Donald Trump, and figure out a way to make his life absolutely miserable. Why can't we do the same? There's so many mechanisms and so many routes and so many lawyers and different laws that you can apply to do exactly what they did to us. I don't understand why. If there's no will, it's not.
I want them. Listen. This is the thing. Okay. I want them to do everything legally. I don't want them to be outlaws like the Democrats were the last 4 years. However, Dan Bongino was one of the leading people in media covering the lawfare. So he knows who to go to. He knows who the criminals are. They should have made an arrest by now. Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, and Bongino.
Maybe that's all he was good at. Maybe he was only good at talking about it. And when it actually comes to actually doing it, he does. You walk into Fannie Willis's office in Fulton County and put handcuffs on her. That's a pretty big deal. It is a big deal, but you know what? It wasn't a bridge too far for Democrats. It's a bridge too far for us because we're the party of losing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I agree with every syllable of every word that's come out of your mouth in this call. I mean, and I will say to you this. You are the typical MAGA. We're not upset with President Trump. He's not the Justice Department. People are losing patience with Pam Bondi. And this is the second or third fentanyl press conference. And I know it's important, but that's not what we need or want.
It's easy. It's easy red meat to.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I got to run, but I appreciate the call. Okay. Take care. Now, I've been telling you guys, I tell you, Coastal Weight Loss Secret's amazing. So I was telling you, I got these two new hats, Trump 2028 from the official Trump store, and the Made in or the Gulf of America hat. And I wear hats all the time, and I instinctively got out and adjusted my hat. And what I learned, with all the weight I've lost, my head's gotten smaller. I know some of you find that part really hard to believe because you may think I have a big head. My head has gotten smaller, and on my Gulf of America hat, if my head gets any smaller, I'm going to have to order child-size hats. I've got it on the last, I don't know, what do you call these things? The last hole on the hat that's adjustable. And on my Trump 2028 hat, I only have one more hole, and this is much smaller than I normally adjust my hats. And with all the weight I've lost in my waist, my stomach, my face, my neck, I've even lost my hands and wrist. I see the difference. I never imagined I would lose weight in my head, but my head is actually smaller thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. That's how much weight I've lost. It's really amazing. Listen, you can do the same thing. Remember, I am not doing any exercise. I'm not taking any prescription medication like Ozempic, and I'm eating foods I would normally eat. All right? So it works, guys. And no matter how much you want to lose, maybe it's less than I lost, maybe, like 20 pounds, 25 pounds. Maybe you want to lose 100, 150, 200, 250, or even more. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I'm going to give you the number. Go meet with Dr. Zuckerman. He's great. You're going to love him. And when you call, make sure you tell him you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. Here's the number. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back shortly, guys. Someone asked, my Instagram is Brian Craig Show. Somebody had asked a little while ago. Brian Craig Show on Instagram, Brian Craig Show on X. That was a great call. I agree with Ben from Pompano. I mean, that is most definitely how MAGA people are feeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no getting around that. We need a high-profile name arrest. Like, remember when they had that in Trump's first term? They had that one special counsel. He indicted. He charged one person. It was someone we never heard of. I forgot the guy's name. That special counsel. Any of you remember the name? You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi. Just wondering your opinion on the UAE recently announcing that they are using $2 billion of the Trump family crypto to invest in Binance. Binance, incidentally, is the same company that was recently fined $4 billion for money laundering.
Yeah.
Do you think Doge will investigate that?
They're using Trump coin to do what? Who? I missed the beginning. I couldn't.
Trump crypto.
Yeah.
They're investing $2 billion.
Who's they?
Of Trump crypto.
Who's they?
The UAE.
The
ruling
UAE?
family.
Oh,
Yes.
the United Arab Emirates?
Yes, they recently announced it.
So
in
what?
Dubai.
I mean, do you,
I
you know,
believe
like
Eric-
if you have, okay, if you have, I have a little bit of crypto, okay? I have some Trump coin, which is really just kind of like a collectible. I have a little Bitcoin and I have a little Ethereum, okay? And a lot of people have crypto, right?
Right.
So are you telling me, and a lot of people have U.S. dollars. Like, do you have U.S. dollars, right? You use U.S. dollars?
I do.
Okay.
I have crypto as well.
Okay. So if you take your U.S. dollars or some of your crypto, and you, for example, hire a prostitute, is it the U.S. Treasury's fault or Bitcoin's fault or Ethereum's fault that you're using their currency to pay for a prostitute to have sex with you, or is that on you?
We both know the UAE didn't have.
I didn't ask you that. No. This isn't what I'm telling. What I'm no. Excuse me.
Highly intelligent.
Excuse me.
We both know that.
So when someone has, excuse me. You're not going to talk over me. Excuse me. You're not going to talk over me and try to get off of this. When someone has currency, the person or the entity that gives out the currency, like for example, you get paid you work for someone, you get paid. So you get, a lot. So say you get paid by your employer. It's Friday. Okay. Am I interrupting a conversation?
I thought you had hung up.
All right. Okay. If I'm interrupting a conversation, let me know. I'll let you go.
No.
Okay.
Here,
so if you get paid by your employer on Friday, okay, it's payday. You get paid. And you take that money, and it could be in any form. It could be in dollars. It could be in Bitcoin. And you go and buy heroin and fentanyl off the street somewhere. Is it your employer's fault what you use that money for?
I'm not following the.
Yeah, you're following everything. It just doesn't back up your prepared liberal talking point. Oh my goodness, what an idiot! All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is Patrick Murray from Delaware. I talked to you back when Hunter's plea deal got blown up.
Okay.
And that was because of my wife, Julie Ann Murray, who's an attorney up in Delaware. We're actually in South Carolina right now.
Oh yeah, I remember that call. Yeah, I remember you. Awesome. So what's up?
Yeah, we were in the courtroom. That's right. Okay. Well, we're going through the same kind of. I wanted to relate it to the Tom Tillis thing. My wife is on the very short list to be the U.S. attorney for Delaware, and Chris Coons is playing his little games to get his chunk and try to disrupt Trump. But and that's the reason, because she blew up Hunter and his plea deal. So I just wanted to relate that it's everywhere. It's not just Ed Martin.
Well, there's problems throughout the federal system because you've got these career bureaucrat hacks, but the D.C. one is the most important of all right now. And I'm of the opinion that Trump should get whatever he wants from the Republicans. This is a very unique presidency, with doing a lot of very unusual things, and has a short time to get a lot done. And Tillis is they either got something on him or he's just a fake Republican.
Yeah, well, I'm 100% with you right there on that. But like I said, I just wanted to relate. It's everywhere, and they're playing their games, and they're never going to stop. Just like the Terminator in the movie.
No, they're never gonna stop. And the best we can do, though, is get our people in these offices and fire as many people as we can. We've got to get as many of our people in the bureaucracy as possible. That'll be there after Trump's term, right? We need people to get in, secretaries, janitors, everybody, paralegals. We need people at every level in every department that are our people, that'll be permanent bureaucrats. And one of the problems we've had as Republicans is we don't encourage people to work for government. We encourage people to be private business people, work in the private sector. And in the long term, that's one of the reasons we have all these problems. Because the liberals, since Kennedy, ask not what what your country can do for you, the liberals have taken over the bureaucracy locally and nationally And we need a move to get MAGA people in these positions in the bureaucracy.
That is so correct. They've got a bigger army, is the way I look at it, and they make government service so disgustingly corrupt to the regular person.
Well, like I'll give you an idea. Years ago, we found Attorney Barry Siegel, our revocable living trust attorney. We found him because Steve was having some problems. He had someone in his wife's family had passed away, and they didn't have a trust, and it had to go through probate. And they had to keep paying on the house and everything, even though the person was gone. And they kept calling the judge's office. And what we found out was every time you call the probate judge's office, the clerk puts your case file on the bottom of the stack, okay, to prolong it. Yeah. At least this person did. So these people in the bureaucracy, they don't even have titles, or at least they have boring titles and they have no authority or supervisory positions, but they can jam up the works in ways that we don't even understand.
Yes, that's right. They're playing their political games, and that's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. So no wonder it turns people off to doing federal service or government service anywhere.
It's scary. I mean, look at this guy who's running for lieutenant governor in Virginia. They got him on some gay sex online scandal, which may not even be him. I don't know what the deal is. If you're MAGA and you run for office or seek out office, they go to destroy you.
Yeah. That's the way they do it. They're scum. They are the scum of the earth, and they're dirty, evil people.
That's right.
That's all it is.
All right, take care. I appreciate the call. And see, Charlie Kirk could be very instrumental in this. We need. He does a lot of work with high school and college students. Okay, and what we need with our high school and college students is recruitment. We need to recruit MAGA people to be school teachers, school administrators, school board members, get boring jobs at your local driver's license office, get boring jobs in the federal government working for the Social Security Administration. You understand what I mean? And the hardcore, long-term, permanent bureaucracy of our country is run by BLM, Islamic activists, anti-American lunatics, and it's more than just the heads of these departments and offices, And in the long term, like I told the caller, some of this is our fault because we don't encourage people to get jobs working for the government. But we gotta change that. All right. Oh my goodness, we're late for the bottom of the hour break. I'm going to be in trouble. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. We'll be back in about a minute. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Yeah, people keep, these are made in the USA. Right there, made in the USA. Made in the USA. And the Gulf of America, also made in the USA. People keep asking. These liberals. Right there say, made in the USA. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Celebrating 48 years on the radio. Callers on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. All right, liberals are always, this is not new, okay? They've always done this. They try to get false narratives going. And there's one out there that they're trying to get going, and I haven't addressed it, but it was brought up by two callers yesterday, two liberal callers. And one of the calls, it was so comical on yesterday's show. I can't remember exactly what time the call was on yesterday's program, but a guy calls in and he says, what are we going to do about all these black people? Remember that caller? The guy was obviously black. You could tell by his voice, right? And he was alluding to this N-word controversy with this crazy woman that has raised all the crowdfunding money. There was another guy who, come on. Yeah, that was the worst seminar caller I ever heard. Earlier in the show, there was another guy. He was asking a bunch of weird questions. The guy I accused of fishing, he was fishing for something. And one of the things he asked is, "What's your feeling on the N-word?" Well, I'm opposed to people using the N-word. I know it's America, and we have a First Amendment, and we have freedom of speech. Here's the thing about freedom of speech, okay? In America, you can say whatever you want for the most part. There are some limitations, but there are consequences for your actions. As an example, if you went into your boss's office today and told him to go blank himself he'd fire you, right? Has your freedom of speech been violated? No, you could say it, but there's consequences for your actions. And this N-word woman that is on tape, she was accused of calling a little boy the N-word. And then I guess a Somali family, it was a Somali family apparently, I'm assuming it was the father of the boy. It was in a park, little kiddie park. He then got out his cell phone and started confronting her and got her to say it. So the first instance, we didn't see it or hear it on tape, but people don't start recording usually until after a shocking event happens. But she did say it the second time. And this story's been all over the liberal media. And I only bring this up because after these couple of calls I got yesterday, after the show, I saw these stories and I started thinking about those calls and what's going on. Now, here's the update that they've used to prolong the story. CBS News, woman caught in N-word tirade raises $600,000 via fundraiser, sparking community backlash. A video recorded in Rochester, Minnesota. It was Minnesota. Okay, I thought it was New York. A video recorded at a Rochester, Minnesota playground of a woman repeatedly shouting a racial slur, the N-word, has garnered strong responses from activist groups. The video captures this one gentleman confronting a woman about calling his child the N-word according to local CBS affiliate KIMT Television. The woman appears to call Omar the N-word in the video, which was taken late last month, and she admits to calling the boy the N-word as well. And I did watch the video, and she's a crazy lady, and she did say the N-word. The woman accused the boy of stealing her child's diaper bag, according to the description of an online fundraiser which was created by her. The father of the boy, who spoke over the phone to the local television outlet, doesn't believe that accusation. The woman says she started the fundraiser to help protect her family in response to the video going viral. As of this story, the fundraiser has raised over $600,000. The Rochester branch of the NAACP created a GoFundMe for the boy and his family, and they've raised $341,594 as of this story being sent out. Public parks should be safe, inclusive spaces for children and families, not sites of hate and trauma, the NAACP says. The boy's father says he's been getting threats since the video went viral. Minnesota's Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, is calling the FBI in to investigate, and they want local law enforcement to protect the family and bystanders who are reportedly being targeted online. The spokesperson for CARE says, "It is truly sad that this alleged racist harasser is finding support nationwide for reported use of the N-word against an innocent child." Let me tell you, we don't know where this money came from, okay, that she's raised on her crowdfunding. And I'm not giving out the crowdfunding. She's not using one of the more popular crowdfunding networks. She's using another. But I wanted to ask you all this question. And do you think I'm nuts with what I'm about to tell you, or do you think what I'm about to share with you is a possibility? And when I saw these stories when I got off the air after these liberals called in and were trying to get me to talk and defend this outrageous comment, which I would never defend. And by the way, even if she didn't use the N-word, I wouldn't support this. When you are out, my daughter's grown now, but I raised her and she was little. And, I've been out in public with my daughter when she was a little baby and through her whole childhood. When you're out in public and a child that's not yours does something, whatever it is, you don't address or speak to the child, you speak to the parent. That's the way it is. So anytime someone else's child acts out in public, I would never support a parent or a person addressing the child, no matter what age they are, how young or how old. You always address the parent, okay? And I've seen some incidents where people have gotten in some pretty heated arguments because someone addressed the child, not the parent, okay? So that's, first of all, that's, no matter what had happened, if the woman said anything to the child, even without the N-word, I wouldn't be supporting this crazy lady. But the N-word is obviously, that's insane, what she did. Totally insane. And then she used it again to the father when she knew she was being recorded. Pretty much everyone in my circle is MAGA conservative in my family. And it's amazing to me. I will run into family members that I have not seen for 20 years or more. And it shocks me that they're MAGA, right? It's amazing. MAGA people do not support using the N-word in any situation. Furthermore, they certainly don't support using it to a 5-year-old child, okay? So what I'm questioning is, who donated this? How much did they say it was? Over $600,000? Who donated this over $600,000 to this lunatic racist woman? Do you think that someone just told me it's over $725,000 now? Do you believe that conservatives, that MAGA people donated this money to this woman's GoFundMe? I don't. That's insane. Who would donate that kind of money in conservative MAGA circles who would give 10 cents to someone who spoke to a child that way? Is it possible that the liberals are donating the money to her GoFundMe? Or it's not GoFundMe, it's on another platform. Her crowdfund. GoFundMe, it's kind of like, you know, all gelatin's called Jello. All hot tubs are called jacuzzis, even though they're brands. Do you think it is possible that Democrats, that liberals are donating the over $600,000 to this lunatic N-word woman's crowdfunding campaign to try to get a narrative that MAGA conservatives are racist? Because in every story, she's identified as MAGA. And I'm here to tell you, we don't know for sure, we don't know, but I think it's highly likely that the Democrats, that the left are the ones donating to this racist lunatic lady's crowdfunding campaign. MAGA conservatives would not do that. It's just stupid. Okay? It's just stupid. Now, I want to talk about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. You know, Dr. Appleton's changed my life. I am completely pain-free. You know, in particular, my knee pain that I suffered with for about 30 years that he rid me of. It was my right knee. It was awful. You know, and back then, this is when we were, when I first met Dr. Appleton, when we were at the radio studio in Boca off Dixie Highway. Remember the one where the bird flew into the window of the studio behind me, that big bird that one time? And in that studio, it was amazing what had happened. When Dr. Appleton, you know, my knee had hurt for 30 years, very bad, especially this time of year in the rainy season. And I used to have a chair next to me that you could raise up, like, because I always stand up when I'm on the air. So it was kind of like a stool, and it had a back on it. And the reason I had that chair, and I always had it backwards, I would lean, it was on my left side, I would lean on that chair to take the weight off of my right knee while I was on the air because it hurt so much, you know? And that was just my life. That's how much my knee hurt. And because I always stand when I'm on the air. And anybody who's on the air should stand, okay? It gives you more energy, you sound better. If you sit down, you're falling asleep. Everybody who's on the air should always stand, just to, you know, that's my opinion. I know most people don't, but I do, and that's the way it should be. And then one day after the laser away pain treatment from Dr. Appleton, I noticed all of a sudden I wasn't using the chair anymore to lean on. I had it face the right way and started using it as a table. And I was like, wow. It just naturally happened. It's not something I consciously did, but I just wasn't in pain anymore. And, you know, when you're right-handed, you're also right-footed. And now I put my weight on my right leg because, you know, I'm right-handed. I couldn't do that before. I was in so much pain. But the pain's gone. And that was over 2.5 years ago. Not only did Dr. Appleton rid me of pain, the pain has not returned. It's been over 2.5 years. And he rid me of pain 6 times since. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain, too. 954-973-0710. It's a free consultation. If you have x-rays or scans, bring them with you. Dr. Appleton will happily look them over for you. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. I'm Brian Craig. We'll take our last break of the second hour and be right back. We'll be back shortly. If you're on hold, hang in there, all right? If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Now, give me you call me. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but give me a yes or no in the chat. Do you think it's possible that the Democrats or the liberals are the ones that have donated to that lunatic lady's crowdfunding campaign? I just don't see MAGA people donating to this lunatic's campaign. Yes or no? What do you guys think? It's crazy. Who do you know that's MAGA that would donate and support someone using the N-word? Come on. I think the Democrats are doing it, trying to get narrative going. I really do. A lot of yeses agreeing with me. Yeah. Psych op, yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We'll be back in less than a minute. I know, it's nuts. I don't know any MAGA people that would donate 10 cents to somebody stupid like that. She's raised too much money. Very out of proportion. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. All right, let's just go back to the phone. I brought up a lot in the last hour and 50 minutes, so we'll just go to the calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
You do know Nick Fuentes is the one who he's the one who actually tweeted.
Well, he's it's he's one call per day. You know the rules. I'm not even going to address what you said. It's one call per day. And so far as Nick Fuentes, he's kind of like Fred Phelps. You guys remember Fred Phelps? He was a lunatic who would protest funerals of people who died of AIDS. People like Nick Fuentes are creations of the left too. Okay, Fred Phelps, Nick Fuentes, they're lunatics, okay, that do the work of the left. So the left make them relevant. And the only ones that ever talk about these lunatics are the left. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hi there. This is Diana from Brevard County.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, just this thing about the donations to this woman's funding. I don't think it's liberals at all. And if you will go on X, you will see all the quote-unquote MAGA that is very racist and very anti-Israel as well. So there is a big contingent of those people.
Well, there are, when we talk about MAGA, okay, everyone I know is MAGA, pretty much. 99% of the people I encounter and know, friends and family, are MAGA. And I know a lot of people, okay? I don't know a single person that's truly MAGA that would give 10 cents to a woman that mistreats a child in any way, especially calling in a black child the N-word. So there's something not kosher with this. And the media, and when I got those seminar calls about it, like the black guy that was trying to sound like a MAGA white racist about it yesterday, I mean, come on. They're definitely trying to get a narrative going. And just because people are on X saying they're MAGA doesn't mean they're MAGA. There's a lot of fake MAGA out there.
Yeah, so I agree that the people that we may know personally do not have those type of thoughts, but there is many, many people out there.
No.
I mean, just look at people like Candace Owens.
No, really? Candace Owens supports the use of the N-word?
No.
Really? Oh, really? So hold on. We're not talking about Israel. Candace Owens hates Jews. Okay, and a lot of people think Tucker Carlson's anti-Israel too. Okay, but we're not talking about Jews. We're talking about calling a 5-year-old little boy the N-word. That's a whole nother thing. Yeah, there's a lot of MAGA that are. There's a lot of people, and this is a problem. I've talked about this a lot. There's a lot of Candace Owens is not MAGA, by the way. She's always criticizing Trump. But there's a lot of conservatives out there, some of them are MAGA, who are anti-Israel and anti-Semitic, and they don't even know it. They've been brainwashed by some people out there. But we're not talking about Israel. We're talking about calling a 5-year-old little boy in a public park the N-word, and then using it again on tape to the father in a little park. That's a whole nother thing. We're not talking about Israel. we're talking about the N-word to a little boy.
I leave Israel out of it, but I will say that there is a lot of people that if Trump is not racist enough.
Let me tell you. Okay, let me racist enough. What does that mean? Like he's partly racist? What are you saying?
Don't take it you know.
No, you said he's not racist enough. Okay. What does that mean?
Well, that means that to them he's not prejudiced. They want him to be prejudiced.
Okay, listen. How old are you?
I'm 59.
You're 59. I'm 54. Okay? In my life, I have heard people call other people the N-word. Okay? Have you ever heard someone call... and I'm thinking through my...
yes, I've heard it.
Okay. Through my life, when I've heard people call someone else the N-word, it's always been a black person calling somebody else the N-word. I have never seen a white person in person call a black person the N-word.
Oh, I know Democrats that use it, and they voted for Obama.
Well, there you go. Democrats use the word. Yeah. So what I'm telling you is, with this incident, this is what you have. You have a woman who is inappropriate to a 5-year-old child. Okay? It's just totally inappropriate. MAGA people don't support being inappropriate. We're not talking about Jews in Israel. Okay? We're talking about calling a little boy the N-word, being out of line, out of place, and quite damaging and abusive to a child. MAGA people don't support that. The woman, some people have told me she's raised over 700,000 now. My last reports say over 600. I find it impossible to believe that MAGA people have donated around $700,000 to this idiot. I don't believe it. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some lunatics like Nick Fuentes, who's insane and a punk and is always trying to be relevant and viral and be talked about, doesn't try to get his followers to donate, to get on a gravy train of attempted relevancy. But as a whole, there's too much money being donated. Something stinks about it, and I don't buy it. And the media accounts, they're all framed, they always refer to her as a MAGA supporter, a MAGA woman, a Trump supporter. There's too much money. The incident's too outrageous. Something stinks about it.
Does she claim to be MAGA?
I don't know. There's just a little clip of tape, but I see people calling her that. And she's using a crowdfunding term that some conservatives have used, but liberals have used too. No, I don't. They're trying to get a narrative going that MAGA are donating the money. And by the way, to the guy that said Nick Fuentes is not MAGA. He's an insane person, okay? He's a crazy person. I'm talking, but the narrative in the media is MAGA has donated over $600,000 to this woman who called a 5-year-old child the N-word. That's false. I don't believe that.
It's not MAGA for real, but it is people that they wish they could be if only Trump would change some things about himself.
I don't even know what you mean. All right, I appreciate the call. And by the way, that woman there I'm somewhat suspicious of because she called from an anonymous number, went to some links to try to block her number from me. So there's something right in the state of Denmark about all of this. There's just some things that don't make sense, okay? And the left have a history of using these crowdfundings. Okay, I'll give you an example. When they want to pay people off, the left, they do two things. They do one of two things. If they're kind of a well-known person, they'll have them publish a book, and then they buy a bunch of the books up, and they get rich that way, right? Another way they do it is crowdfunding. Liberals are very good at organizing crowdfunding, like that woman that made all those false allegations against Kavanaugh in the Supreme Court confirmation hearings. She had a crowdfunding that raised a ton of money that the Democrats did. So Democrats have a history of these ridiculous crowdfunding operations. And no, I'm going to stick to my theory on that. I don't believe that is MAGA people, and nothing will convince me of anything else. I want to talk about Mike Lindell and MyPillow. There's huge deals going on. The first MyPillow product I got, of course, was the MyPillow itself. And I don't talk too much about the MyPillow because there's been so many other products that have come out since. But I want to explain to you, because sometimes people ask me, what's the big deal with the pillow? And I remember I was having a hard time sleeping before the MyPillow. I tried everything, every type of pillow, foam pillows, form-fitting pillows, bamboo pillows. I bought a $200 bamboo pillow from one of those stores at the mall that sell all the technical stuff. It's out of business now. The one that starts with a B. I forgot the name of it. And I got the MyPillow, and I'm like, okay. I slept on it one night and saw the difference. See, that patented fill that Mike Lindell invented inside the MyPillow, it makes it so that your head and neck fit perfectly in the pillow, and your head doesn't toss and turn all night. You're not aware of it because you're sleeping. But when your head's moving at night, you wake up out of REM sleep, even though you don't remember it. It interrupts your sleep. That patented fill, your head doesn't move at night. You're comfortable and you're in place, so you sleep the whole night through in REM sleep. It's absolutely amazing. And you can get the MyPillow for just $17.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout. The normal price is $49.98. So that's a big, big discount. Order yours right now, just $17.98. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, at mypillow.com. 2 hours down, 1 to go. We'll be back with Steve Kane right after this. You there? Yeah, you there? Okay, you gotta turn the volume down back behind you. On the radio, yeah. Did Lori show you that text I sent you? Oh my God, you I know. Yeah, I will. All right, hold on. I'll put you on hold for a minute. Hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, hold on. Just a minute and a half. We'll be back. All right. Did you have anything you wanted to go to, or?
Yeah, anything but this. This is.
Oh, hold on. No, it's not. There's a full board, but that's okay.
It doesn't mean anything.
All right.
I'll take it someone.
All right. Hour number 3 has begun. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. How you doing, Steve?
Good morning. I'm listening to all this. Wildness is going on in the world. When I went to bed last night, Donald Trump was making sounds like he was about to consummate the Canadian deal, and he really implied that in the next 3 to 4 or 5 days he was going to make an unbelievable announcement. If he was exaggerating, he's really going to lose credibility.
Well, he said it didn't. It wasn't about. It was during the Canadian thing, but
Yes.
with that weak, very nervous, wimpy Prime Minister Carney. Oh my goodness, what an embarrassment to Canada! But he's going to the Middle East, so he said before he goes to the Middle East. So I saw some speculation early this morning in the news about what it might be, but I can't believe this is true. But it was in mainstream news.
He was kind of as I was watching it, he was implying it was in relation to the Canada deal.
No, I don't think so. He said it may not involve trade. It was not about the Canadian deal at all. It was about hold on a second. It was about something generic. It was about something else, it seemed to me.
Well, whatever it was, he was saying it was game changing. I mean, he made a big thing of it.
I read, now again, this was in the news that I saw this, and I don't think this is it. And I was surprised to see this, and I can't remember which publication it was because I saw it and it was so stupid I just moved on. But they said it may be, it may involve something in the Middle East. And I know this will sound like a joke, but they didn't. They said it as a serious thing that he may rename the Persian Gulf, but I don't think that's it. And they didn't say it as a joke; they were serious. Okay, I don't know. But I thought it was interesting that Trump said in that meeting that they don't need to sign anything to get the trade deals right. He'll just needs a verbal, and then they have to act on it on the tariffs. But I don't think he implied it was Canada that he was talking about.
Well, he was saying the things that I witnessed. He was saying in front of the new Canadian Prime Minister.
Yeah, he was sitting there, but I didn't take it as meaning. So you're wondering what could it have been?
Well, I mean, I tend to take Donald at his word. I mean, when he says something, I accept it as being factual.
No, he's got something to announce, but it was not. I wouldn't assume it was anything to do with Canada. It was really kind of generic, like we don't know what it could be about. It could be about anything.
But he implied it was game changing. At least the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, yes, something major. He said. I think did he say major announcement?
Yes.
I think he said major announcement.
It was.
Well, what could it be if it didn't involve Canada? And he said it may. He says it may not have anything to do with trade deals. He said a major announcement. It might not have anything to do with trade deals. He said.
Well, whatever it is, there's so much going on now. It's a massive conclusion, and I think this thing about I think you're right with this thing about the N-word. I hate that phrase. The N-word controversy.
Well, let me without talking about it too long. Let me tell you why I brought it up, and I'll give you guys the behind the scenes. If you watch on YouTube, you got to hear this. Okay, you told me that topic was death, radio death, which is pretty bad. I mean, that's like Joyce Kaufman quality. The reason I brought it up, Steve, is I had two callers that were liberal that were trying to get me to defend what she was doing. That's why I didn't bring it up just randomly. Two liberal seminar callers called in and tried to get me to approve of her using it to the N-word, calling a small child the N-word. That's why I was talking about it. I just didn't randomly bring it up. If I just randomly brought it up, I would agree with you. But, we had these two callers, these liberal callers, who were shocked that I didn't defend her for calling a 5-year-old child the N-word. But, the speculation on what Trump's announcement could be, I think it's impossible to guess because there's so many big things coming, right? I mean, it's I couldn't even begin to guess what it could be.
Well, I mean, his underall intent most of the time is to capture the news cycle, and he's already done that for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's becoming redundant.
Well, if you in the audience have any ideas what he could have been referencing, give us a call. The number's toll free, 1-888-465-2631. There you go. Yeah, that's a good one. 888-465-2631. But I don't want you to think I brought that lady up just generically because I had 2 calls. Steve, I had a caller. You missed this call, okay? This was hilarious, Steve. I got a call from a guy. He this was the worst, okay? Even Joyce Kaufman would have picked up on this guy. He called in, and he was trying to get me to defend this woman calling a 5-year-old the N-word. And he says, what are we going to do about these black people? And he was black. And you could tell by his voice. I mean, it was like talking to, Fat Albert or something. I mean, he sounded like that. And then he denied it. I mean, it was so bizarre. And the thing with the left, they're so desperate. They've not been able to get any false narratives off the ground. And they've been trying. And this is another desperate attempt. There was Trump had that big victory with the Supreme Court yesterday with the transgender discharges. Did you see that?
No, I must have happened.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. Okay, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of President Trump that he can discharge all the transgendered service people. Okay. And it's a catch. The liberals are. This is going to be fun because the liberals have been telling us the last couple of weeks because the Supreme Court ruled against Trump on one of these deportation things. The liberals have been telling us for the last 2 weeks that when the Supreme Court makes a ruling, you are not to question it. When they make a ruling and give an opinion, if you question it, you're tearing apart our Constitution. Now they got a ruling that they don't like. So what are they going to do? But Pete Hegseth is going to start discharging the transgendered members of all the military branches. And the report is they're going to start with the higher ranking ones, generals, admirals, colonels, and stuff. Get
that lady admiral from the Navy.
There's a transgendered naval admiral.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Oh my goodness.
She's the highest ranking
transgender person.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't you? I'm sure you knew about her.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that. Yeah. So and these are going to be very high profile. And, it's bizarre. So what's going to happen is they're going to we don't know exactly when the discharges are going to happen. I was watching MSNBC yesterday, Steve, after this came out, because I knew they were having meltdowns. They were like sitting Shiva over it. I mean, they were like so freaked out. Oh, my goodness. And they were comparing these transgender members of the military to the Freedom Riders. Right? I mean, if you don't know who the Freedom Riders are, you're probably Google it. Okay, great Republicans who risk their lives against Democrats. Yeah, but when they discharge these people, they're going to be. I'm assuming they're going to be on all the liberal talk shows, right? Wouldn't you think?
You wouldn't count on it.
Really? Because it's such a popular position to discharge them. They want to distance themselves.
It's going to be a big thing if that happens, and they're going to be caught between the rock and the hard place.
Yeah.
Hard to tell to a fact what the final decision on the PR aspect of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're getting smart and they don't flaunt it on MSNBC sometimes.
Well, let's go to the jury of public opinion and find out what they think. That's our callers. You guys are the jury of public opinion, okay? All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. Never Trumper Steve here. Good morning, Steve. I wanted to go over your concerns about Ed Martin's confirmation, and really because Steve is here, I just want now. I know you're going to interrupt me. There's a laundry list of reasons why he should not be confirmed. But I want to start off, because Steve is here, I want to start off with this one, that Ed Martin is personal friends of Tim Hale, who is a Nazi sympathizer, dresses up in Nazi uniforms, makes anti-Semitic statements and praises Adolf Hitler. If that wasn't enough...
Who is he?
Who is who?
Who is this guy? Who is this guy you're talking about? What's his name?
Tim Hale.
Tim Hale. Tim Hale, and then I'm going to look up Ed Martin. Okay, I'm going to, so, President Trump's grandchildren are Jews, His daughter's a Jew. You're aware of that, right?
That has no basis to what I just said.
Well, does it make sense when his grandchildren are Jews that he'd have a Nazi sympathizer working for him?
I'm just telling you a fact. I mean, I'm not getting into that background.
You're more than just telling us a fact. You're doing more than telling us a fact. You're implying some things which are, according to what Brian's telling us, are not.
Well, that's just extra. Yeah,
okay, now, by the way, I just Googled this. Okay, what you just said, and the first article that came up is from Left Wing National Public Radio. Okay. So I'm going to read from an article on National Public Radio. I will post this to my ex, Brian Craig Show, if you guys want to read. They have a direct email exchange between Martin, okay, and him. Okay, between this Nazi guy that you're talking about. And I know who he is. He's one of those, he's kind of like one of those Fred Phelps guys, Steve, this Nazi. Yeah. The liberals like to put him all over the place and call him a conservative, and he likes to try to make himself look like Adolf Hitler. And the liberals love him. They prop him up and everything. When you're a known person, you get emails and stuff. Steve and I get emails from people all the time, and I'll write them back. I don't know who they are. It doesn't mean that you're guilt by association. But Martin told the Senate, I'm not close with him, and he was unaware of all this background. So that you portray them like they're best buds and hang out on the weekend and go fishing together. And he just got some emails from the guy. And he didn't know who he was.
It's kind of like Ed Martin not recollecting he was on Russian TV 150 times, needed to go into his disclosure statements, and he had to be called out on it.
I'm bored with this. Steve, make a better point.
All right. Here's a better point. How about Ed Martin has no prosecution experience and is being nominated for a prosecution job?
Do you know that you don't have to have been a judge or even a lawyer to be on the Supreme Court of the United States? And it's not required. And he's an attorney, and he supervises attorneys and prosecutors. Okay?
Yeah, I understand, but you talk about the swamp.
No, hold on a second. This is the talking points right out of CBS News, Steve. You're aware that he's an attorney. In fact, he's an attorney for some of the J6ers. But you're implying that he's not even an attorney.
Hold on, establish.
I'm only implying if you're a prosecutor, you should have prosecution experience. Steve, that's what I'm saying.
Steve, were you aware of that?
Aware of what?
That he was an attorney with legal experience?
Why would I care if he was an attorney?
That means no, Steve. He didn't know. He didn't know.
Here's what I care about.
He didn't know. He didn't know he was an attorney, Steve. He didn't get that far on the talking point list yet.
Well, of course I know that. You said that at 6 o'clock in the morning that he represented January 6 people. Of course I know that.
All right, listen, we're up against the break, so we got to end the call.
He doesn't have prosecution experience, and the first thing he did in his temporary job was to reassign prosecutors prosecuting the January 6 cases.
That's right.
If that's not swamp, I don't know what is.
Yeah, because they're criminals. And I'll tell you this. President Trump didn't have presidential experience until he was president. Either did President Obama or President Clinton or any, you don't have experience till you have the job.
Well, I'm giving Tillis credit for sticking his neck out. There are other
you know what you could do. You know what you could do to gain respect and credibility in this audience. If you just admitted,
coming from you,
like if you just said you hate Trump, there's nothing he can do that you'll approve of, and you're going to disagree with anything he does or says.
No, my problem with your statement this morning is you bring up one tiny itty bitty fact and you leave out.
No, excuse me. You brought up something And in about 6 seconds, I exposed you as having a vacuous lie. You said he's best friends and hangs out with this Nazi. The guy sent him a couple of emails. I got an email. Steve and I have an email box filled with hundreds of emails. You're not responsible for, and I write people back. You're not, how are you supposed to know who these people are? And their whole background.
His Russian
I don't know.
experiences.
I don't know who you are. Hold on a second. Stephen, never Trumper Steve. That's all we know you as. You call in. We don't know about you, but if you had some sketchy background, does that mean Steve and I, who have talked to you many, many times, that we're guilty of whatever is in your background? That's such a stupid argument to make. Now, if you had if you had this guy dressed up like Hitler or something, then you'd have an issue. All right, take care, but you don't. All right, Steve, I'm gonna put everybody on hold. We'll take a break and be right back. All right, you there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm gonna call you after the show, but just give me like 5 or 10 minutes after.
No problem.
Okay. All right, you there, Steve? Steve? Hold on. Oh. Steve, you there? Ah. Hey, hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, hang in there. We're still in break. All right. Every line on the board is lit. I wish you would have heard that call from the black guy trying to sound like a white racist MAGA guy. I might pull that off the show and send it to you.
You described it well.
Oh my God. I couldn't even play with him because it was just so stupid. I mean, it was insulting. One minute, we'll be back. We are back. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You know, Steve, I got these really awesome 2 new hats from the official Trump store today. I'm wearing my Trump 2028 hat, and I got my Gulf of America hat, too. And they're beautiful hats. You should get them. They're great hats. But they're adjustable, right? They're baseball caps. You know, you got the adjustable thing in the back.
Right.
And I realized something absolutely amazing about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I've lost weight in my head because I wear baseball caps all the time, and the ones that are adjustable, usually I have them on the 3rd or 4th hole from the end. On my Gulf of America cap, I got it on the last hole. It's as small as it goes. And on my Trump 2028 hat, I have it on the next to the last, and it's loose. I never thought, I lost all this weight in my face, in my neck. My stomach is flat. I've lost all this weight in my waist. I've even noticed my hands, wrist, and arms. I've lost weight. I never thought I had a fat head, Steve, but apparently I did. My head's gotten smaller thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. But I guess you lose fat everywhere when you lose weight. I just had never realized that. Listen, weight loss is amazing. Not only do you look better, you feel better. And not just because you feel better about yourself because you look better. You have more energy. I mean, I got to tell you, I feel the difference. Lost over 35 pounds thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Now, if you want to lose weight, no matter how much or how little, okay, 20 pounds, 25 pounds, 120, 150, 250, call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. It works. Remember, I'm not taking any medications like Ozempic or anything. I'm eating foods I would normally eat, and I'm not doing one bit of exercise. If I had to do exercise, I would be a failure. I wouldn't be able to do. I'm not doing any exercise either. Give them a call. Now, when you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. All right, 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlosssecret.com. Well, I lost track of where we were. What do you remember what we were talking about before the break, Steve? I've lost track.
No, I don't know. We've been all
okay. Never Trumper Steve. Everything he said about Martin, who's Trump's pick to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, is untrue and misrepresent. I mean, he was never a prosecutor, but he's implying he's not a lawyer, implying he's a friend with a Nazi, which is absurd. You know, what I was talking about earlier, Steve, in all the years we've done this show, I don't think we've ever discussed about an individual appointment of a United States attorney before. That's not the kind. Now, we might, like, I remember there was a bunch of firings of U.S. attorneys by George W. Bush, and that was a topic. But the nomination of an individual United States attorney, I don't know if we've ever talked about something like that. It seems very inside baseball to me.
Doesn't seem very relevant, does it?
But in this instance, it does. Because that D.C. office is where the lawfare originated against President Trump. It all went through that office.
And because they're desperate.
Yes.
They keep hitting their head against a wall, and it's, eventually it hurts.
So if we're going to drain the swamp, this is the head of the snake in this office. And this one is if this were the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida in Miami, we wouldn't be talking about it. But this is where all the lawfare originated. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Gloria Jeans. I'm calling from Virginia Beach.
All right. Go ahead, Gloria in Virginia Beach.
Good morning to you both. I just want to make a comment about the 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of grandchildren. If the father was truly, and I don't like to be judgmental, but if he truly was concerned about his son, he would take that recording and go to the police and press charges against that woman for verbal abuse.
All right. I appreciate the call. Okay. All right. Our number 1-888-465-2631. However, every line on the board is lit, even where that lady was. We've got a full board of calls. I know what the other thing we were talking about, Steve. If you have any speculation on what Trump was referencing with a big announcement, that's one when he was with Connie yesterday. If you have any ideas what that might be, that was the other thing.
I mean, listening to it in context, what it sounded like to me was that it was related to Canada. That's just what came through to me.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree on that one. I think he made it a point to make you think it was in Canada. But I don't know. We have no idea. It's all speculation. We don't know. But President Trump would not promise a big announcement if something big wasn't coming. I mean, he went out of his way.
You wouldn't think.
He went out of his way to say, hey, something big's coming. Yeah. But it's
really big. Uniquely big.
I assumed it had something to do with the Middle East since he's going to do it right before he flies to the Middle East.
Right.
You know, that's what I thought it involved. But, you know, you guys can let us know. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. That last break I took way late, okay? I should not have taken that call from Never Trumper Steve until after the break, but I did. So this is a short segment. It is completely my fault. My apologies, but we only have 30 minutes left. So I want to take this break on time so we have time to talk to you guys for the rest of the show. All right? So if you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be right back. All right. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hang in there. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hold on. Just over a minute, we'll be back.
Okay.
We're back. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. It is the Steve Kane Show. Every line on the board is lit. If you're on hold, stand by. You know, Steve, I wanted to tell people about your neuropathy real quick and Lighthouse Medical Center. Let me tell you, neuropathy, and I've known people other than you with neuropathy. It's
very common.
Is it fair to say it's living torture? I mean, I would say it's awful. Neuropathy, right? I mean, the dizziness,
pretty bad.
It's bad. The feeling of pins and needles, the loss of feeling, the dizziness, the falling. You know, a lot of people that are older that fall down all the time. It's not they're old, they can't stand up. A lot of them have neuropathy. And we found Lighthouse Medical Center out of necessity because you had your neuropathy and you had every symptom in the medical book. And your doctor told you there's no treatment, even sent you to a neurologist, a specialist, and they said, oh, that's your life. Right. Go home and suffer for the rest of your life. Oh, that's great. Thank you. And we found Lighthouse Medical. They have now this is very important for you to understand, okay? Lighthouse Medical in Pompano, which can help you no matter where you're located in the United States. And they offer free consultations if you mention you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show. Lighthouse Medical in Pompano. There's a beautiful lighthouse on the beach in Pompano. That's why it's Lighthouse Medical in Pompano. Beautiful lighthouse. Lighthouse Medical in Pompano have a treatment for neuropathy that works and a treatment that lasts. Not only did you saw relief the next day after your first treatment, but your neuropathy symptoms not only disappeared, Steve, it's been over 2.5 years and they have not returned.
Exactly.
That's amazing. And I've met listeners of ours at our events, on our cruises, at Wings Plus, and even at the Barry Siegel workshops that are living their life again. They're able to walk, they're able to drive, they're able to get out of their home. You know, a lot of people that have neuropathy are homebound. A lot of people have neuropathy and don't know it. You know, and the symptoms, the burning, the tingling in the hands and feet, the loss of balance, the falling down, the feeling of pins and needles in the hands and feet, no feeling at all. If you have any of these symptoms, you may have neuropathy. Go see them at Lighthouse Medical Center. Take advantage of that no-charge consultation. Find out if you have neuropathy. And if you do, you get your life back. Here's their number, 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642, 754-222-6642, and online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. All right, I got to guess, Steve, on what Trump's big announcement might be.
Take a shot.
Okay, and someone texted me this. Someone we know texted me this during the break. It's going to be before his trip to the Middle East. And there's a lot going on in the Middle East, right? You got Israel, the Gaza,
Pakistan and India,
the Gaza issue. You've got Iran, you've got India and Pakistan. But this announcement, you know, I don't think it's India or Pakistan. This is what it could be: naming his national security advisor, and that's a big deal. And there's 2 people at the top of the list. Stephen Miller, which I love Stephen Miller, and that would be great. But the one...
Well, they've been talking about it. They've been talking about Miller for a while.
Yeah.
He's excellent.
But there's somebody that's even better, that has people going, that would really get the news cycle going. If he brought back General Flynn as his national security advisor, that would be amazing. That would be insane. The media would have meltdowns. The Democrats would all have strokes. That would be an epic announcement if he and he traveled to the Middle East with him, General Flynn. That would be, I think. And by the way, that was not my thought. Someone texted me that during the break. I'm not going to tell you who, but somebody texted me that during the break, and I think that the national security advisor is highly likely to be what it is, but General Flynn. That would, Steve, that would turn the world upside down.
Why would you say that?
Well, they hate General Flynn. And remember, when President Trump was president-elect the first time, he met with Obama when Obama was still president. And I've heard Trump talk about this. He said Obama told him, hire whoever you want for whatever job you want to hire them for, except General Flynn. And Trump left the meeting, went out in the hallway, and told his people to hire General Flynn. And so they hate him. But President Trump fired General Flynn during the lawfare in the first term. They thought he lied to Pence, and lying to Mike Pence. Well, that's not a big deal right now. We don't like Pence anymore. So that would be beautiful. That might be some wishful thinking, but naming his national security advisor, it being General Flynn, and then getting on Air Force One and flying off to the Middle East with General Flynn as national security advisor would be beautiful. It would be, Steve, that is the one. They hate Trump no matter what he does, right? If he turns a light switch on, they have meltdowns, all right? They don't like his blue suit.
Maybe you're right, but I mean, it doesn't float my boat, I can tell you.
Oh,
that.
would.
It's not such a big thing.
Not to
me, that's all.
Oh, you would change your mind in a heartbeat as soon as you saw CNN and MSNBC. You might turn them on and it'd be dead air because they would have heart attacks and strokes. They would have panic attacks. Let's go to our callers though and find out what they have to say. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, I think this is not what I'm calling about, but I think the big announcement is all the millions of dollars he's going to spend for his birthday to give himself a military parade. That's what I think.
Well, that's not what he's doing, but the days coincide. My birth. Yeah, go. Do you have something more interesting than that, Jay?
I was calling because I heard you talking to the last guy when he told you to look up about the one he's nominated.
Which I did. I looked up what he said.
Nazi,
he's not a Nazi.
Being a Nazi sympath. Did you see his pictures? I'm asking you. Did you see the man's pictures that's being nominated? Did you see them?
You don't
even see all the pictures of him. Did you see all the pictures of him with his Hitler mustache?
Oh my gosh!
Did you see those pictures?
You're not looking at pictures of Martin. You're looking at pictures of somebody else.
Oh my God!
Yeah, you are. Do it right now. Pull them up right now. No, they're not. Oh my, Steve, this is really sad.
Who are they then?
The guy,
it's him right there. He took the pictures in his own bathroom.
Ed Martin is who President Trump has nominated. The Nazi guy is named Timothy Hale. Okay,
that's two different people I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're looking at pictures of Timothy Hale.
No,
yes.
I'm talking about the pictures of the nominee.
There's no such picture.
His mustache like Hitler.
No, that's Timothy Hale. You got the wrong guy. Oh my! I'm embarrassed for you.
You're just ignoring the fact that they took the pictures.
No,
you're just ignoring
Timothy Hale.
You're trying to act like the pictures aren't there.
Timothy Hale took pictures of him. Those are pictures of Timothy Hale with the Hitler mustache, not Ed Martin.
All right. Anything else for?
Well, you know what it is with Jay? I think Jay's so racist. All white guys look alike.
Probably some
not racist. But not too much. You said the other day.
Tell us something good about white people then. You're not racist? Hold on. You said
the main thing we have to. I'm going to tell you something racist. The main thing that we have to fear in America is white men. That's true.
You say you're not racist. Tell me something good about white people.
Oh, I love white people.
Well, give me an example.
They're just like me. It's no different.
Tell me a positive thing about a white person.
They're better than others.
Okay, all right, take care. All right, oh my goodness, he's looking at the wrong pit. You know what? These Democrats.
I think you made your point.
You know what's going on? Since Elon Musk and Doge shut down USAID, whoever was sending out the Democrat talking points is no longer there. So they must have some weak, stupid volunteer sending out the talking points to Democrats now. Because these Democrats, like Never Trumper Steve's one of the better talking point guys. He was all messed up. This guy's all messed up. Their talking points are very confusing to these people. Oh my goodness. I almost feel bad for Jay. Yeah, I almost feel bad for Jay from Jersey. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. The phones are all full. Every line is full on the board, and we'll go back to the phones after the gold report. But every line's lit. So my apologies to you guys for that. But Steve, before we break for the gold report, I want to tell people about Friendly Tire in Margate. You know, Friendly Tire in Margate, I've been a customer there for at least 15 years. You know, you can get new tires, common sizes for some of the most common vehicles on the road for as low as $75 a tire. And when I talk about Friendly Tire in Margate and I say out the door and on the road, when you call Friendly Tire and Friendly Mike gives you a quote over the phone, that includes everything. He doesn't charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or even dispose of your old tires. So when he gives you a quote over the phone, that's out the door and on the road. New tires for as low as $75 a tire. That's amazing. If you have a Tesla, you know, you have to have special tools and everything to replace Tesla tires. He's got the tools, and he'll get you the best deal on Tesla tires anywhere. On one of my cars, we have run flats. You love run flats, Steve, till you need new tires. Friendly Tire has the best prices on run flats you'll find anywhere. And he has all the name brands you know and love. I'm a Firestone guy, but if you're in the Michelin, Bridgestone, Pirelli, whatever you're into, he'll get them, and he'll get them at a great price. Give Friendly Tire a call. Friendly Mike will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445. Make sure you tell him you heard about him on the Steve Kane Show. He'll take extra good care of you, all right? 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. We'll be right back. Hey there, William. Hold on. Steve, you there? Steve, you there? You okay there? Okay, hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes, Brian.
Okay, I want to conference William in. Hold on. All right, William, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, stand by. We have 45 seconds. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. And on the line from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated, we have William Youngerman with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking today?
Metals are looking great, Brian. The last 2 days, we saw gold gain over almost $200. Yesterday, gaining $99.10 after Monday's gain of $93.80. Gold closing out the day yesterday at $3,432.50 the ounce after trading in a range of $33.74 all the way up to $34.37. That was only within maybe $65 of our all-time record high of $3,500. Silver gained 72 cents yesterday, closing out the day at $33.17 the ounce. Platinum was up $23 at $983, while palladium gained $35 at $964. As might be expected after these record gains, the market pulled back a little bit overnight. and is down a little bit this morning, giving back about not quite half of what we gained yesterday, but trading in a range overnight of 33.58 on the low all the way up to 34.32. And right now, gold is $3,388. That's down $44.50. But with these big numbers, you got to expect big swings, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The silver down 32 cents right now at 32.85. Platinum up $2 at 9.85. And palladium up $6 at 9.70. So gold's down right now at $44.50 at $3,388. A little bit of a pullback, profit taking, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that gold that loss erased before the day's over with, and maybe even hit a new high.
Yeah. Now, obviously people can come in your shop in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway and on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. But you do business all over the world, over the phone and through the mail. And sometimes people are even local in South Florida, and maybe they're too busy to make it in. How does it work for people that want to buy gold and silver when they call you on the phone?
Yeah, you just call us up, lock in the price of what you want to buy, and then wire the funds to us, and the coins or the bullion is shipped out immediately, either the same day or the very next day. So it's quite easy to do it, and very secure.
Yeah, and when you ship it out, how's it shipped out? Because it's insured. How does that work when you actually ship out?
It gets shipped out either registered mail, fully insured, or via Federal Express, fully insured also.
Yeah, and like I said, you do transactions through the mail and over the phone all over the planet. All right, listen, William Youngerman's number's toll free. He opens up at 10 a.m. 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010, and his address is 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca. Again, immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road on the first floor of the Bank of America building. And on his website, you can find both his address and phone number, WilliamYoungerman.com. That's WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll touch base tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, Steve, every line on our board is lit. You want to go back to the phones?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, geez, I must have been really lucky with all that busy callers. How are you doing, Brian? Good morning.
Yeah, you're very lucky to talk to us.
How's your? Please tell me that hat is at least made in America. Please tell me that.
Yeah, all the official Trump hats are made in the USA. Absolutely.
Okay, copy that. Right,
what about what does that even mean? I mean, what about the phone you're talking to me on? Where was that made?
There's a big difference between
a big difference. I know. All right, go ahead. Give us something interesting. You're boring us.
What phone I'm using there, Chief? All right, take it easy. Stop directing everything where you want it to go. Unfortunately, you host a show where you sell more stuff while you're on the air than you do off it.
Yeah.
So give me a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. All right. I just want to say this General Flynn idea, dude, I can't even believe that would even be feasible as an idea. Okay, the man's
been what? The man's been what? What? The man's been what? General Flynn. What's the man been?
He's been a joy for patriotism across the world.
What?
Okay, so
what? No. You said General Flynn's been something. What has he been? You don't know
anything.
See what I mean, Steve, about the talking points? The Democrats are sending out incomplete talking points. He doesn't have the rest of the thought.
Fine.
All right, take care. Oh, my goodness. That's weak. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's try another one. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right.
Hello?
Yep, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
Holy Toledo, man, talking about throwing the ball against the wet mattress. Look, it boils down to slander. It boils down to slander, okay? It doesn't matter who Trump picks for what position or whatever. It doesn't matter. He could be trying to get an Easter bunny, to play, but it doesn't matter. So what's going to be the next thing? Oh, this lady's going to come from 30 years ago and is going to have some sexual. And they simply don't want the guy there. And the fact that I haven't heard about John Thurn until a couple of days ago, I call him a sleeper cell rhino traitor because he wouldn't want to vote for Ed Martin because of January 6th.
Well, listen, he was an attorney who represented some J6ers. I've never heard people, I've never heard attorneys held accountable for accusations made against their clients. I don't get that. And so far as Tom there, the concern about General Flynn for an unknown reason because the talking point was incomplete, Biden had the Easter Bunny advising him on what to do. I would rather have General Flynn than the Easter Bunny advising the president any day.
We got to start from the top, John Roberts, all the way through Pfizer and down, and see what their activities has been in the last 25, 30 years. We have to start picking these judges apart and replacing them with younger people who will think our way. I don't know who's going to be the one to lead that, but AI can always go through the
Okay,
files.
all right, appreciate the call, IB. All right, let's go. We're running short on time, so let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Dan from Ohio.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, I just want to tell you got the best show out there, and that I can't believe that after elections, learning that the Democrats and all these new people lie, that people are starting to fall for it again.
Who's falling? What lies are people falling for in the current news cycle?
Like the Ed Martin deal. If you go and you look, they put the pictures next to each other, so they're making people assume that he is the guy in the picture.
No, only if you're stupid and don't read, because underneath the photograph it tells you who each one is. And
exactly,
you know,
can put their glasses on.
Well, you're talking about Democrats. It's a reflex. Whatever Trump is for, they're against, no matter what. I mean, last week they were defending a wife beater, right? The guy Garcia in El Salvador. Okay, now they're trying to do. They're always going to oppose whatever Trump does.
Yes, sir. And I think the good news is that Trump's going to let out is that he's probably going. Russia's probably going to sign on the dotted line, is what I think.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, the Ukraine-Russian peace deal, that would be big.
Yep.
All right, Ohio. See, Ohio, my home state. Very wise people from Ohio. All right. 10 presidents are from Ohio. There are more presidents from Ohio than any other state, and JD might be the 11th, right? As the second MAGA president. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. This is Greg. Excuse me.
Hey, Greg.
Speak up, Greg.
Ryan,
we want to hear your venom. What?
Ryan, you are what to Kamala is Steve is to Biden. That's how you guys discuss it.
Wait, hold on. Slow down. I am to Kamala. What does that mean? I'm a drunk? I have sugar daddies? What does that mean? That I have a sugar daddy and I'm drunk? I'm like Kamala? What does that mean?
Can I answer the question?
Yeah.
That means that you speak about things that you have no knowledge.
Oh, okay.
And let's go to the other analogy.
No, I don't think so. The other analogy is we're running short on time. I mean, my goodness. That was weak, Steve. They're running out of stuff. What's happening, the never Trumpers and the left are losing their minds because we're winning so much. And they're
pretty, you got to understand, they're in pretty frustrated psychological shape at this point.
Yeah, but MAGA people, we've got to just enjoy and savor this. I remember, remember the old FTL, of course, great radios, the old WFTL where we started working. I remember once at the radio station, there were all these people who were all forgotten, who were complaining about the workplace to you. And you said, chill out. This is the best radio gig you're ever going to have. Stop complaining. And, well, there's a similar thing going on right now. This is the greatest president and the greatest term that we will ever experience in our lifetime. So people enjoy every moment of it and savor it. We're never going to have another president like this that has a mandate like this that is so right on everything as President Trump is in this second term. And, the first 100 days we got through a week ago, I want this 4 years to go by very slow, and I want to savor every instance of it. But the caller who said that the announcement might be the Ukraine-Russia peace deal, that would be the best, Steve. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, depending how long it lasted. If it went more than a day.
Well, if you start sending the Americans to start working in those mineral mines in eastern Ukraine.
It's an ingenious idea, I must say.
It could, he could be flying to the Middle East for a summit meeting with Zelensky and Putin to sign the deal. Because, they've been doing the peace talks have been taking place in Saudi Arabia, if I remember correctly, with Russia. So, that's a strong possibility. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Yes, Brian.
Hey guys, how are you today?
All right.
Steve, I think that high-ranking naval officer you're talking to was trans and maybe released. I think it was Admiral Levine. I'm not positive.
No,
about
Levine
that.
was Rachel Levine wasn't in the Navy. They were in the National Health Service, which is under the Surgeon General. No, that's not a real naval admiral. That's Health and Human Services. The Health and Human Services, that's what the Surgeon General's with. They wear naval-looking uniforms, but they're not the Navy.
Okay. Second point I wanted to make is in his first term of office, President Trump got a very important process underway called the Abraham Accords. I think with 3 signatories to the agreement. I think the announcement is he's going to add a 4th one. I think that's going to be Saudi Arabia.
Well, he said before, but he said before he goes. That would happen there.
There may be an agreement and understood before the actual signing of the agreement.
Possibility.
The last point I want to make, today is the first day of the convocation in Rome to pick a new pope. If you hear the name Petrus Romanus coming out of this agreement, Peter the Roman, this is not good news. But it's something to be paid attention to. It's a major, major event, and there will be a vote today.
I'm hoping. I would like to. We're out of time for the day. I appreciate the call. I would like it to be Cardinal Dolan would be the pope. That would be my wish.
He
won't
get it though. No chance.
They're not going to pick an American, and he's pretty conservative. We're out of time, Steve. So, but we'll be back tomorrow, right?
Time flies, so you're having fun.
This show flew by, that's for sure. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian. Steve Kane, of course, has been here. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Oh, boy. I'll take. You know what? I'll take one call before I sign off. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. This is Jerry from Arizona.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, I just wanted to speak on the General Flynn thing. I know that yesterday he had just posted something about Shifty Shift.
General Flynn did? Yeah.
Yes. And, I mean, listen, to have him put in that spot, I know they're shaking, scared. But also, I wanted to know, did you know anything about the James O'Keefe information?
We don't know. I didn't talk about it on the show today. I did a live stream on YouTube before the main show. And Benny Johnson was implying that it has something to do with Epstein. And I hope it's something else. But James O'Keefe, it's going to come out today. And I don't know what time. And I haven't heard anything about it coming out yet. But usually when James O'Keefe drops something, it's around 11 a.m. That doesn't mean it's going to be 11. But in the past, he's done so much hype for this. I hope it's good and hope it lives up to the hype. You know what I mean?
Man, yes. Yes, and you know what? I love all the patriots that are around and just doing the job of what America is supposed to be about, is protecting America, but also providing a way to the future, man. I appreciate you out here, man. Thank you.
All right, take care. Appreciate the call. Well, the radio show's over. This is like the post show. And I love James O'Keefe. I mean, he deserves Pulitzer Prizes multiple times for his incredible journalism, but he's done so much hype around this that I just hope that it lives up to the hype, right? If it lives up to the hype, that'll be great, because he's always breaking good stuff, and it's been a long time since he has gotten the publicity he deserves for his breaking investigative journalism. James O'Keefe, I think he's the best. I mean, I love him, And Laura Loomer started out with James O'Keefe. A lot of people don't know that, but. I hope it's not Epstein. I hope it's something involving what they're doing against Trump. And the reason I say that is I just don't think there's a lot of documents out there involving Jeffrey Epstein. Whatever documents they had were either destroyed or they're in the possession of the deep state to use as blackmail. And I just don't think that there's ever going to be, at least not for 50 years, any Epstein documents that are going to be like the big, okay, now justice is going to be done. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. You know, believe me, when they went to his island and they went to his house, that's probably where the records were, which would be not files. I think the records would be videos, thumb drives, photographs, things like that. They either destroyed all that or they put it in files to blackmail these high-ranking government officials and important people, would be my guess. I just don't think that the government of the United States, I don't think Pam Bondi's Justice Department has any files that would move the needle on that. I just don't. But I would like them to be public, but I don't think so. All right, I'll take another call before I go. What the heck? Let's see. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sarah from Florida.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, you got some real libtards on today.
Yes.
We're going to say, what's the deal? Why can't they go after Mayorkas? They didn't pardon him. He never got, why can't they? It's like.
Well, how do we know they're not? I mean, Mayorkas, who was responsible for the border invasion. You know, who says that they're not going after him?
Yeah, I understand what the one guy was saying. It's really something that they're going after. I don't know. Maybe they should have had Matt Gaetz as the, AG. I don't know. She's a disappointment. I don't know. It's because they want to make sure they cross their T's and dot their I's for everything.
Well, if President Trump, the way he's been talking is they're going after Letitia, and that's got to be at the top of President Trump's list, Letitia James.
Well, I always thought, my order of people I'd love to see in prison. Well, the number one, let's face it, everybody wants to see Fauci in prison. I know he got.
That's not going to happen.
There's stuff
that's not going to happen.
I know.
You got the part. See, the thing about Letitia, the mortgage fraud is federal, and her signature are on an endless number of documents committing the fraud, so they can get her. Fauci was pardoned. You got to go between who your wish list is and who they can really get. But just because they haven't arrested anyone does not mean the indictments are not coming. It hasn't been that long. They got to investigate. They got to interview witnesses. They got to collect evidence, and they may have indictments that they've not released yet. They may have sealed indictments from grand juries.
Dan Bongino just didn't, like you said, left that big lucrative job just to twiddle his thumbs.
I think if I believe that if Bongino went there and they weren't doing anything, he'd quit, and it would be very public. I don't think he would stick around and be part of a cover-up. If he thought that if they weren't doing what we want them to do, he would quit.
Well, like I said, I thought low-hanging fruit would be Mayorkas because he was one he didn't get.
Well, what would you get on him? I mean, if I were thinking about Mayorkas, because he's responsible for the border being open, right? I would look at his financials of him and his family.
He lied. He said everything's safe. The border is safe. Everything's under control. He said that in 23. He said that in 24. He was very condescending all the time.
you can't go after someone because you don't like them or don't like what they did. You have to have a crime. It's like with Letitia James, the mortgage fraud, that is a documented crime with evidence, right? So that's something you can take to a jury and say, look, she signed this document and said she was married to her father. It's mortgage fraud. With Mayorkas, there may not, there's not that kind of evidence unless you could find that he got really rich during his time. Hey, Rich, I appreciate the call. You guys know what I mean? I think Letitia's a great start because everything's documented. All right, listen, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig, but I'll tell you, don't be so sure that Pam Bondi has not secured indictments. Grand juries are secret, and they don't leak. Other presidents and administrations leak things. And Pam Bondi could have a whole stack of sealed indictments, okay? I would not be surprised. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Brian, I'm sorry. Good morning. This is Nick out of Baltimore.
Hey, Nick.
I wanted to mention one thing here. People are questioning Bongino and Cash Patel and Pam Bondi. We're not privy to the information that they're dealing with, and they're not going to reveal their hand, what they're doing. This administration's handling things a lot differently than they did the first time around.
Yep.
And before people hit the panic button and say, well, they're not doing anything, they're doing a lot behind the scenes. And they have to build up the cases in the proper way so that they can go after these Democrats and these rogue judges.
See, they're going after people. You're right. They're going after very powerful, connected people that are of the class that no one's gone after before. So they have to have concrete indictments with evidence and witnesses. It's not as easy as people. I think people got to be a little more patient. But Pam Bondi should stop doing fentanyl press conferences and stop doing as many TV interviews, because that's aggravating people, I think.
And it's there's so much stuff. Yesterday when she had that press conference about the fentanyl, it got cut off before you could see. I'm going to see if any reporters went up to look at those bags of evidence. I bet you they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to cover the truth.
Yeah.
And it's, what did you call it? What did you and Steve call this? Censorship by omission.
Yeah. Media bias.
And
media bias is in what stories they choose to not cover and cover. That's another bias. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate the call, Nick. I agree with everything you said. Take care. Now, listen, again, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Every weekday morning, I live stream every day of the week and all the time, okay, at different times. But each weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m., I'm live streaming here in my studio, and I take live calls like I've been doing all morning. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. You'll love this channel. And if you're already subscribed, do me the favor of liking the video, and if you could share the video on your socials, that'd be spectacular too. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.